Hi everyone and welcome to Bonnie Astrology. Today I'm going to be discussing the astrology of November 2025 and of course what it means for your zodiac sign. As always, if you do enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up to let me know that you like it. It really helps the algorithm. And please think of subscribing to the channel for regular astrology content from me. And if you do want to visit my website or any of my other astrological socials, all the information is listed in the description box below. And I am taking readings for 2026. Can you believe? So without further ado, I'm going to get into the astrology summary of November, but feel free to click ahead to your zodiac sign if you wish. The timestamps are listed below, and I do, as always, suggest you watch your rising sign. But honestly, I think there is merit in watching for your sun and moon as well if you feel called to, or you don't know your birth time, because some people don't. So let's start with the numerology of November. November 2025 reduces to a number 2. It actually reduces to 11, which is a master number, but that further reduces to 2. And that calls in the energy of the moon. And the moon is all about fluctuations, and it can be very up and very down this month, energetically speaking. And we have a full moon in Taurus and a new moon in Scorpio. And because we have the energy of the moon this month in numerology, the effects of these moons, these lunations, are amplified. So let's look at the full moon in Taurus. It's happening on November 5th. This full moon is happening at 13 degrees of Taurus. And note, if you have any personal planets at 12, 13, 14 degrees of the fixed signs, they are Taurus. They are Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. If you have anything 12, 13, 14 degrees of those signs, this full moon is calling you. Now, the full moon in Taurus is really quite a lovely thing because the moon is exalted in Taurus, and full moons in Taurus are where you notice people are going out to eat more, or they're cooking their favorite food, or they're wearing the perfume that they keep for special occasions and really enjoying life's little luxury. The full moon in Taurus is where your senses are heightened, your material senses, touch, taste, smell, and you want to really get a rich experience of the senses when the full moon is in Taurus. So that could be that you're buying a new perfume, that could be that you're going out to your favorite restaurant, ordering your favorite food, listening to your favorite song and repeat, having coffee in your favorite mug, whatever the case is, you're indulging in life's little luxuries. The full moon in Taurus is also quite a nice time to go to a gig or a concert. But with this one, there is an element of the unexpected. And that is because within the energy of this full moon, 2 days later on November 7th, Uranus retrograde returns to Taurus. And this is amplified because it will be at the anaretic degree of Taurus. Now, when we have a planet at the anaretic degree, it really amplifies the energies of that planet and the energies of that sign, because this is the final time to get the lesson and to embody that energy, to integrate the wisdom and the energies of that cycle before the planet moves on. Now, Uranus did enter Gemini earlier on in the year, and Uranus will return to Gemini for a much longer transit in April 2026. So this is truly the final hurrah for all of us in this lifetime of Uranus and Taurus. So with Uranus being at the 29th degree, this can, of course, stir up revolution, rebellion, breaking of the status quo, liberation. And with Taurus, this can be to do with our financial systems, banking. This can be to do with money. This can be to do with food, the material, the food that we are able to source from the stores, the food that we're able to grow ourselves. It can be to do with the material, the earth as well, environmental issues. With Uranus going through Taurus at the 29th degree, it can give a now or never. Something needs to change, something needs a breakthrough, and something potentially needs liberation or a little bit of a revolution in the Taurus domain. And for you personally, that will be in a unique part of your chart, which I cover in the horoscopes. Because Uranus is retrograde, a lot of these breakthroughs can be felt internally before we actually see the change. So this full moon in Taurus, because it's in the same sign as what Uranus is returning to, we can intensely feel the themes of our Taurus house, and we can also intensely feel and understand what needs to change, where we could do with a little bit more freedom or a little bit more liberation or a bit of a breakthrough. An emotional breakthrough might actually come through at the time of this full moon and give us an understanding of how we need to progress or how we need to change. And maybe with Uranus energy, doing things that are a little bit different to what we've done before in the status quo. Because if you're doing the same thing over and over and expecting different, different results, Uranus comes in and says, this is madness. Let's try something else. And you may notice under this full moon that a lot of people are trying something else. So with that full moon, there is a sense of expect the unexpected. There can be disruptions, there can be revolutions, there can be rebellions in November in particular, with Uranus being at the 29th degree. Now, before Uranus gets to the 29th degree, Uranus will be within the first degree of Gemini because it's moving backwards. Now, Mars enters Sagittarius on the 4th of November and immediately gets into an opposition with Uranus in Gemini, both at 0 degrees of mutable signs. And Sagittarius and Gemini in astrology, they're about information, they're about knowledge, they're about learning, but they're also about travel. And you could certainly see disruptions this month when it comes to traveling, when it comes to airlines, airports, train stations, train companies, taxi companies, commutes in general. How we travel can absolutely be disrupted in November. So if you are traveling in November, remember to have copies of your passport, remember to double check your details, remember to make some sort of provision, carry extra cash. Things can shift and things can change, and some flights may not take off altogether in November, but sometimes it can just simply be a disruption in the form of delays for a couple of hours. The reason that that is so likely is because Mercury also is going retrograde this month in Sagittarius on the 9th. So that really amplifies the potential for disruptions when it comes to travel, and especially air travel with Sagittarius. Now, that Mars-Uranus opposition can also bring quarrels over philosophy, religion, belief systems, foreign affairs. There can be outbursts of anger. There can also be a lot of rebellions going on this month and a lot of revolutions going on this month as well. And a general sense of unrest with that particular opposition. November 4th is a disruptive, volatile day, so just be careful out and about, and be careful with debates on November 4th. Not the best time to get into a debate because it could really escalate with Mars and Uranus in opposition. And it can bring, sudden um, it can bring sudden events unexpectedly out of nowhere that you don't see coming. And Mars is quite keen to cut people off. And this can mean that there are sudden breakdowns between people that ordinarily thought they were fine, perhaps with Mars and Sagittarius opposite Uranus and Gemini. But it does tend to bring quarrels and unrest when it comes to religion, philosophy, foreign affairs, beliefs about the world, that type of thing. And as I say, Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius in the 9th, this can also bring miscommunication about those areas. But Mercury returns to Scorpio on the 18th. So Mercury is basically doing this equal stint between Sagittarius and Scorpio. It's covering two different themes here. Mercury retrograde through Sagittarius, miscommunication, language gaps between other people, miscommunication because of a language barrier, miscommunication because one is too blunt, especially with Mars in the mix, saying something in the heat of the moment, saying something that is supposed to be truthful and honest, but is actually just hurtful. That can sometimes come up with Mercury and Sagittarius. And Mercury retrograde enters Scorpio, or re-enters Scorpio on the 18th, and immediately opposes Uranus, which brings further disruption to communication and brings further disruption when it comes to information. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio can reveal some hidden information and some secrets, and some of these can be about very taboo matters. And with the opposition to Uranus on the 18th, they can certainly shock the masses. Now, as I mentioned before, numerology, it is a number 2 month ruled by the moon. The new moon this month is in Scorpio. And the new moon in Scorpio, it's opposite Uranus, it is conjunct Mercury retrograde, so it emphasizes the unexpected information and perhaps the energy of quarreling with other people about the truth. The new moon in Scorpio is going to be conjunct Mercury retrograde, though, which brings a sense of clarity because this is the turning point with the Mercury retrograde cycle. This new moon reminds me of the Judgment card in Tarot, where there is a sense of resurrection and renewal. Scorpio is the sign associated with death, and the Mercury retrograde can be about bringing things back. So, bringing things back from the dead, an old idea, an old vision, an old plan gets new life under this new moon in Scorpio, and it can absolutely be a reset. What I do like about this new moon is that it is the day of the Neptune-Uranus sextile. And for all of us collectively, the Uranus-Neptune sextile, we're trying to integrate these lessons when it comes to Uranus and Taurus, revolutionizing and bringing innovation to our environment, to our financial system, to our food. But Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees can also be spiritual healing, faith, connection to the divine. Because they're in this sextile, there's this opportunity for creative synergy and inspired change, particularly when it comes to humanitarian change and progressive social movement. You might see some companies really starting to shift en masse to collective well-being over profit can be one way that this manifests. But sextiles tend to bring the opportunity. So this might be an opportunity that you're leaning into. It can be really beautiful for creative and artistic endeavors as well in November. You could see a lot of very creative energy going on in the world. Now, Jupiter is going retrograde this month, so we do have this shift. I mean, Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system, so we will feel this shift. Jupiter is going retrograde on November 11th, so 11/11. Jupiter is going retrograde in the sign of Cancer. And Jupiter retrograde turns the energy inward also. So when we have a retrograde planet, we start to think of the prefix RE. We redo, we rethink. With Jupiter retrograde, we reassess our beliefs. Jupiter is known as the great benefic in astrology. It's known to bring benefits, it's known to bring luck, it's known to bring expansion and growth. If you're finding that the Jupiter in Cancer cycle has been a bit meh, it's not gone the way that you wanted it to, Jupiter retrograde is the chance to reconnect with your beliefs and realize how these do shape our reality, what we believe to be true. So, reconnecting with your beliefs and reassessing how they work or do not work for you. Jupiter retrograde can still bring benefits, but they're likely coming from past endeavors, past people, or past opportunities coming back around again. So, as you can see, we do have a lot of retrograde energy happening in November, but we actually also have Saturn, the planet of karma, going direct. And this is important because until February, Saturn will be direct in Pisces for the last time for 30 years. So, this 3.5 year chapter is ending, and it's nearly always in the final hurrah of Saturn going through a sign that we see the benefit of it. We see the reward for the hard work and the additional responsibility. Saturn's a slow energy. It can take a long time to see the benefit and it can take a long time to see the reward. But Saturn direct in Pisces is where you will start to see the reward for a hard work, well done scenario, hard job, well done. So Saturn going direct can see the benefits, especially when it comes to career matters, when it comes to goals, when it comes to the obstacles that you've been facing. Saturn direct can help you navigate it. And with Pisces being a service sign, receiving help from other people, receiving help from someone who wishes you well, someone who maybe comes in out of nowhere and wants to help, or an opportunity comes in out of nowhere, or a spiritual assistance of some kind comes in out of nowhere where you feel as though you can finally progress on that goal or see the payout for the job well done. Mercury goes direct on the 29th of November after its 20-day retrograde cycle, and this is where you start to notice that communication becomes a lot easier, misunderstandings start to dissipate, it's easier to communicate with other people. The Mercury retrograde cycle may have brought a lot of misunderstandings, miscommunication, faux pas, cancelled plans, but it starts to ease up after the 29th, and it's better to travel after the 29th. But if you can leave it a little bit into December, I would recommend it to get out of the shadow period. Venus does oppose Uranus in the same day as the Mercury station, so there can be miscommunication still, particularly in relationships. Both Venus and Uranus will be at the crisis degree, so there can be relationship crises of all kinds, romantic, business, best friend, client. That's a day to not schedule anything too heavy because it can shift and change and people can shock and surprise you. There can be a lot of surprising up and downs in relationships around the 29th. Things start to lighten up substantially on November 30th when Venus enters Sagittarius. And this is where matters of travel can be a lot more enjoyable. Debate can be a lot more enjoyable and a bit more peaceful when Venus goes into Sagittarius. And Venus comes in as the lesser benefic and sort of blesses the Sagittarian parts of our chart after a little bit of chaos and rearrangement and maybe a little bit of heat. But Venus going through Sagittarius can make, matters of debate and different belief systems and different opinions can make it pleasant and can even make it attractive when it comes to dating or forming friendships with Venus. Liking, to form connections with someone who's from a different background or a different country or has a different opinion to you, and sort of enjoying those differences and being curious about other people and enjoying traveling, enjoying learning, and enjoying higher education can come about when Venus is in Sagittarius. Just loving what you're learning. Love to learn can be a Venus in Sagittarius energy as well. So you can sort of see with November, it's kind of up and down. There's a lot of fluctuations. There's retrograde energy, there's direct energy, and there are truly some cosmic shifts going on. And with Uranus and Neptune both at 29 degrees and the inner planets hitting 29 degrees at different points, both Mercury and Venus, this is certainly a chance to integrate some energies that need a little bit of a refreshment. As always, I'm going to pull a tarot card for November 2025 and see what the overall collective energy is for the month ahead, see if we can get any additional insight as to what is going on in November. The Magician. Oh, I love this. This is about manifestation. It's about co-creation. It's about having all the tools to make what you want happen. It's about magic. And Scorpio is a very magical sign. And we do have ground water trines in November, which means that in a lot of cases, the key is in the feeling. If you're trying to make something happen in your life, feeling what it would be like to experience it can really help you align with that goal or remember why you're pursuing a particular goal, or even help call it in if you believe in vibration and things like that. So with the Magician, I think the key is to feel it this month, to connect with the feeling in order to call it in order to bring it to reality. And with the 7, or is it 8? The 8 of Pentacles, it can be surrounding something that you've been working hard on and seeing no results, because Saturn is going direct this month. So you might finally start to see the results of something you've been working on for quite some time. That is what I have for November. I hope you all have a great month, and I will talk to you soon.
Hi Aries, welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Aries, this month Mars, your ruling planet and the planet of action, moves into Sagittarius. Sagittarius energizes the theme of adventure. And for you, it is activating your 9th house, which means that you will be seeking greater adventure and wisdom when it comes to traveling, making travel plans, taking trips, higher education, studying, university, college, getting a degree. And also when it just comes to your belief systems. You may find that this is an area of life where you seek action. You notice you have an increased drive in pursuit of higher learning or pursuit of taking that trip, or you may even see some increased conflict in this area, especially on the 4th of November when Mars opposes Uranus in Gemini. And this can bring some quarrels, restlessness, and you could find some opposition in your Uranus house, which for you is the 3rd house. So communication. This means there could be some tension, anger, and unexpected tugs of war between you and another person when it comes to belief systems. Speaking of Uranus, though, Uranus will move back into Taurus via retrograde on the 7th of November and will hover over that anaretic degree of Taurus for the rest of the month. Uranus will be in Taurus until April 2026. So this is the final run of Uranus and Taurus, and Uranus brings revolution and sudden changes to your 2nd house of money. So you could be experiencing some disruptions and unexpected events, but because Uranus is retrograde, I feel that these revolutions and desires for change may well be happening internally for you, Aries. Perhaps you're looking at what no longer feels right or aligned and contemplating where you need a little bit of a change. You could be experiencing inner breakthroughs in this area, as this is the final lap of Uranus and Taurus. But your Taurus house also hosts a full moon on the 5th of November, and this area is going to be very much illuminated to you. Themes of money, finances, but also your values, your sense of self-confidence come to the fore, and you may have some intense feelings about these matters. Whether they're good or bad, I don't know, but what I like about this full moon is that it is exalted in Taurus, and the dispositor is a domicile Venus in Libra. So this could bring an opportunity for harmony and recalibration. However, as Uranus retrogrades back into Taurus 2 days later, it does seem to illuminate what finally needs to change in this area for you, Aries. So how you make money, the money that you make, and the way that you spend it. And not everybody will expect what happens or immediately understand why. Mercury goes retrograde on the 9th of November in your 9th house, your Sagittarius house, and will be retrograde until the 29th of November. Mercury retrograde in this house, so close to Mars, could have you rethinking or rearranging recent action or plans in your Sagittarius house. So travel arrangements may have to be changed, especially if you are changing in November. If you're making plans to travel, it's good to get insurance because things can change. And Mercury will retrograde back into Scorpio on the 18th of November, which is your 8th house, which covers insurance and other people's money. And this can bring some intense reflection on 8th house themes, such as your joint financial arrangements with other people, the money that you receive from others, your spouse's money, government money, insurance money, and that means some money could come back to you as well. The positive thing about this is that Mercury and Scorpio will ignite that grand water trine, which can resurrect some money that is owed to you or bring some money back towards you. But it can also renew some old ideas or plans that you have with a business partner or a spouse financially. And it can also be that if you're working with a therapist, which would be 8th house domain, you could perhaps crack something that has been difficult to crack, getting to the root of an issue, perhaps with this Mercury retrograde Aries. Jupiter goes retrograde in your 4th house, and over the next 4 months, this turns Jupiter's energy inward. So you're seeking greater wisdom from within when it comes to home, family matters, and a lot of your growth will happen on the inside. What growth and wisdom have you been gaining in your 4th house since Jupiter's grand entry in June? This is a time to reflect on the growth and opportunities that you've had here. So a new home, home expansion, home renovation, growing the family. But if things haven't been what you hoped, you can turn inward and re-examine your beliefs about this area. You could also find with Jupiter retrograde that you find internal abundance in this area. You find peace with where you're at. Jupiter retrograde can actually also bring some gains from the past. So past gains from your family, past gains from property as well. There is a new moon in Scorpio in your 8th house on November 20th, and this new moon really brings a reset and possibly in Scorpio some kind of resurrection or renewal in your Scorpio 8th house. You may simply reset how you think about this area thanks to the conjunction to Mercury retrograde, but it certainly brings a new chapter when it comes to joint financial assets, a new chapter in an intimate relationship, and perhaps a new chapter for you when it comes to shadow work and inner healing. Sagittarius season comes into force on the 21st and brings your 9th house very much into the focus for the next month. So you could see a surge of activity happening in this area over the next 30 days, and you may find that you're looking to express yourself and build a greater sense of self-confidence when it comes to traveling, when it comes to studying and higher education and forming beliefs that are true to you and really examining what's out there in the world and getting out of your shell. Saturn stations direct on the 27th in your 12th house of Pisces, and Saturn leaves this area for the next 29 years in February. So much like Uranus, this is also a final hurrah transit for now. Not so much as Uranus because 29 years is not as long. But this shifts your internal review of your work and of your responsibilities to your healing, to your mental health, to whatever it is that you're working on behind the scenes, the work that you don't get recognition for. And it brings forth progress here. So between now and February, you'll see the reward of the hard work and responsibility that you've taken in your Pisces house, as this is the last chapter in that cycle for nearly 30 years. So if you've been working on your mental health, if you've been working on something quietly and privately behind the scenes areas, this is when you're going to see the reward for it and the payout for it with Saturn. Mercury goes direct in Scorpio on the 29th. And on the same day, Venus in Scorpio opposes Uranus and Taurus at 29 degrees. So this could be quite a chaotic day with relationships of all kinds. Expect some unexpected moves from others and the potential for miscommunication. But the good news is that Mercury direct means we get some mental clarity, and these misunderstandings begin to dissipate going forward, especially when it comes to joint financial relationships for you. Even if Mercury is still in shadow until December, things start to become more clear when it comes to taxes, loans, joint financial ventures, etc. I wouldn't recommend between the 9th and the 29th signing anything with anybody else financially. Renewing, not so bad. Signing anything new, not great. Venus is in Scorpio for most of the month, and this brings positivity to the relationships that you have in your 8th house. So your intimate life, your intimate connections, your joint financial connections. There can be a benefit with Venus here because you can make more money through other people, or your spouse can have an increase in money. Expect positive social encounters or experiences here in the 8th house. So positive experiences when it comes to connecting with your bank, or when it comes to connecting with someone who you have a joint financial relationship with in the 8th house. But this can also be, going to parties that are a little bit mysterious, like a masquerade ball or something like that, with your Venus Scorpio 8th house here, Aries. Relationships will require depth this month and are not going to be frivolous and superficial for you. So you might notice your connections are actually a little bit more intense. But Venus enters Sagittarius, which is your 9th house and the 30th, which means that there's a lot more positivity and lightheartedness when it comes to your relationships, especially where you're traveling with someone, or the people that you meet while traveling, or relationships to your peers academically. Or getting on better with your teachers and mentors as well. You can expect adventures with others in this area. And with Uranus and Neptune both hanging out at 29 degrees of Taurus and Pisces this month and in a harmonious sextile, there's opportunities to integrate the energies of these planets before they change signs. So you could really find that looking at your Taurus and Pisces houses, Aries, you might be having some sort of healing awakening when it comes to your sense of self-confidence and self-worth. Maybe because of the work you've been doing behind the scenes, or the spiritual healing that you've been doing. But this is positive and progressive movement, even though they're retrograde, when it comes to your hopes and dreams. And perhaps you just needed some healing when it came to your confidence to get there. That is what I have for you, Aries. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Taurus, welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Taurus, this month Mars, the planet of action, moves into Sagittarius. And Mars energizes the theme of adventure in Sagittarius. And for you, it is activating your 8th house, which means that you could be seeking greater adventure and wisdom when it comes to psychology, shadow work, diving into the deeper topics of life, learning about the occult, perhaps. You may also be wanting to learn more financially about joint financial relationships, assets. You could be learning more about investments. You may also find that this is an area of life where you're seeking action. You do notice increased drive in pursuit of financial goals or financial gain, but you may also see some increased conflict in this area. Mars opposes Uranus in Gemini on the 4th of November, which can bring some quarrels, restlessness, and you could find some opposition in the house Uranus is transiting, which for you is your 2nd house. So there could be some tension, anger, and unexpected tugs of war for you, Taurus, financially. So some disagreements about money between you and a spouse, or between you and an investor, or you and someone that you're in a joint financial relationship with. Speaking of Uranus, Uranus moves back into your sign, Taurus, via retrograde on the 7th, and will hover over that anaretic degree for the rest of the month. And Uranus will be in Taurus until April 2026, so this is the final run of Uranus and Taurus in our lifetimes. Uranus brings revolution and sudden change, so it is no stranger to you in your 1st house, where you could be experiencing some disruptions and unexpected events. But as Uranus is retrograde, these revolutions and desires for change may well be happening internally, Taurus. Perhaps you're looking inward at what no longer feels right and contemplating a bit of a liberation. You could be experiencing some inner breakthroughs in this area, as this is the final lap. And your 1st house also hosts a full moon on the 5th of November. So this is an area of life that is generally very illuminated for you in the first half of November. Themes of your personal style, your personal aesthetic, your appearance, your personality, the way that you show up to the world, what you want at your core, who you are at your core. These themes, your identity, can really come to the fore, and you may have more intense feelings and emotions that it is a full moon in your sign. But I love that this full moon is exalted in your sign, And the dispositor is a domicile Venus in Libra in your 6th house. And this can bring an opportunity for harmony and recalibration for you, Taurus. But as Uranus retrogrades back into Taurus 2 days later, it does seem to be illuminating what finally needs to change for you, what you finally need to let go of, or change, or liberate, or revolutionize. And not everybody is going to understand it. But Uranus in your sign is about reconnecting, especially in retrograde, reconnecting with yourself and what is true for you, how you want to style yourself, the things about you that are a little bit different or quirky. And finally, making some peace with them if you haven't already, and integrating those things about yourself that are a little bit different into your life. Mercury goes retrograde the 9th of November in your Sagittarius 8th house and will be retrograde until the 29th of November. Mercury retrograde in this house, so close to Mars though, may have you rethinking recent action in your Sagittarius house. So where your joint investments are, your financial affairs, your connections to others on an intimate level, and you're reflecting on what you've learned about these areas, what you're learning about these areas as well, what you're learning financially or what you're learning intimately. Mercury does retrograde back into Scorpio on the 18th of November in your 7th house of relationships. And this can bring some intense reflection on themes of partnership, connection to others, your spouse, your partner, prospective partners, business partners, how you connect with other people. But the positive thing about this, Taurus, is that Mercury in Scorpio will ignite that grand water trine, which can resurrect old connections, can renew something between you and a partner, reconnect you to someone from the past, or help you finally get some clarity on what's not working in your relationship life. Jupiter goes retrograde in your 3rd house. And over the next 4 months, this turns Jupiter's energy inward. So you're seeking greater wisdom from within. And a lot of growth is going to be happening on the inside for you, especially when it comes to what you are actually learning, what's enriching your mind, what you're finding intellectually stimulating. What growth and wisdom have you been gaining in your 3rd house since Jupiter entered your 3rd house in June? You could be re-examining how you think. You could be re-examining your mindset and how this affects your life, your relationship to social media, the internet, your gadgets, your phones. If things haven't been how you hoped, Taurus, if you haven't got, the 3rd house is that shiny new car, if you haven't got the new phone and the new gadget, or you haven't quite got the mindset that you've been working on just yet, Jupiter retrograde does turn this energy inward, and you can re-examine your beliefs about this area. So your beliefs about learning, your beliefs about communication. And you could also find with Jupiter retrograde that you find internal abundance in this area. You begin to become more at one with your thoughts, but Jupiter can, in retrograde, also bring gains from the past. So someone from the past you helped before helps you get the car that you want. Or Jupiter retrograde in the 3rd house, you hear from someone from the past that really helps you enrich your mind. An old teacher, an old mentor, a course that you wanted to go on comes back around, etc. There is a new moon in Scorpio in your 7th house on the 20th of November, and this brings a reset and possibly some kind of resurrection or renewal in your Scorpio house. And that could be when it comes to your relationships, resurrecting an old relationship, renewing a relationship. But you may simply reset how you think about this area thanks to that Mercury retrograde conjunction. And how you think about this area will change this area over the next 6 months. Sagittarius season comes into force on the 21st, and it brings your 8th house into greater focus for the next month, Taurus. You could see a surge of activity happening in this area over the next 30 days, and you may find that you're looking to express yourself and build a greater sense of self-confidence here, confidence financially, being more financially literate. But also when it comes to shadow work, healing, psychological work, gaining more confidence in your ability to embrace transformation and make change happen. And for a lot of you, with it being Sagittarius, that type of change happens when you travel or when you learn about philosophy or religion. It can be very healing for you. Saturn stations direct on the 27th in your Pisces 11th house, and Saturn leaves this area for the next 29 years at least in February. And this shifts your internal review of the work and responsibilities that you've done in your 11th house, and it'll show you the progress that you've made. So between now and February, you could very well see the reward, Taurus, of the hard work and responsibility you have taken on for your dreams, your friends, a philanthropic cause, a charitable endeavor, helping humanity, helping your friends, making new friends, being a friend to have a friend, working with your hopes and your dreams, going after your dreams with Saturn in the 11th house. So you may very well see the reward for this until February. Something could happen here that really makes you think, I'm so glad I did put in the work because this is just what I wanted. Or these are the friends that I've always wanted. Mercury goes direct in Scorpio on the 29th, and in the same day, Venus in Scorpio opposes Uranus in Taurus at 29 degrees. Now, this could be quite a chaotic day for you, Taurus, especially with relationships of all kinds. Expect some unexpected moves from others and the potential for miscommunication all in one day. But the good news is that Mercury direct means we could get some mental clarity for you when it comes to relationships. And these misunderstandings begin to dissipate going forward, even if Mercury is still in shadow until December. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio and Venus in Scorpio, there's a lot of focus on partnerships this month, but with Venus in Scorpio for most of the month, this does bring positivity to your relationships. You can have positive social encounters with romantic partners, prospective romantic partners, past romantic partners, or business partners as well. There could be miscommunication in this area, but there can also be very deep connection with someone else, someone special in your life. Venus enters Sagittarius, your 8th house, from the 30th, which will bring positive connections for you, Taurus, financially. And you can expect some adventure in this area. So I think for a lot of you, that could be higher learning about money, or higher learning about how to make your money work for you, or how to have closer relationships with other people with the 8th house, or just simply studying more about psychology or the occult so that you can develop and grow and transform in how you do connect with others. With Uranus and Taurus both hanging out at 29 degrees of Taurus and Pisces this month, and in a harmonious sextile Taurus, there's opportunities to integrate the energies of these planets before they change signs. So look at your Taurus house, your first house, and your Pisces house, your 11th house, to see how you blend the energies between yourself and your friends, or your causes, or your hopes and your ambitions. And you could experience a healing awakening between you and a friend, healing with a friend, healing with groups of people. And this is a positive sign for progressive movement when it comes to your hopes and dreams more generally. That is what I have for you, Taurus, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Gemini, welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Gemini, this month, Mars, the planet of action, is moving into Sagittarius. Now, Mars energizes the theme of adventure in Sagittarius, and for you, it is activating your partnership zone, your 7th house of relationships and partnerships, which means that you'll be seeking greater adventure and greater wisdom when it comes to how you connect with other people. You may find that this is an area of life where you seek action, you notice increased drive in pursuit of partnership, the person that you want to date, pursuing your partner, doing more things with your partner, more activities with your partner. But this may also be an area where you see increased conflict in this area. So Mars opposes Uranus on November 4th, which can bring some quarrels. It can bring restlessness, and you could find some opposition in the house that Uranus is transiting, which is your first house. So this means that there could be some tension, anger, and unexpected tugs of war between you and another person. Gemini, you and your partner most likely, but a close relationship, a business partnership where you're just not seeing eye to eye. And there could be an unexpected argument comes out of nowhere, an unexpected disagreement comes out of nowhere. Maybe you find them a bit heated and a bit opinionated, and they find you a bit unpredictable, or they find that you've changed your mind and they didn't see it coming. Speaking of Uranus, Uranus will move back into Taurus via retrograde on November 7th and will hover over that anaretic degree for the rest of the month. So Uranus is going to be in Taurus until April 2026. It's the final hurrah of Taurus, Uranus and Taurus in our lifetimes. And Uranus brings revolution and sudden change. So your 12th house of endings, of losses, but also healing and letting go, and your connection to the spiritual side of life could be experiencing some disruptions and unexpected events. But for you, Gemini, as Uranus is retrograde, these revolutions and desires for change may well be happening internally. Maybe you're looking inward at what no longer feels right, what you want to let go of in order to feel more liberated. What you want to let go of, maybe subconsciously, you could be coming to some realizations privately about yourself, about others. You could be experiencing these inner breakthroughs in this area, especially as it is the final lap of Uranus in Taurus. So for some of you, you could be having these intense inner breakthroughs which nobody knows anything about, that are very private to you. You could suddenly experience closure on something that has been bothering you for such a long time, or you could unexpectedly let something go that nobody else would see coming, but you know it's the right time. Your Taurus house, which is your 12th house, is also hosting a full moon on the 5th of November. And so this area of life is very much illuminated for you, Gemini. Themes of endings, of healing, of closure, of solitude, of letting go of what's limiting you, of your subconscious coming to the fore, your dreams come to the fore. They're very vivid, very intense, very symbolic, maybe a bit psychic, because they could give you some flashes of insight with Uranus retrograde there. You may feel some very intense feelings about something from the past as well. But what I really like about this full moon, Gemini, is that it is exalted in Taurus, and the dispositor of this full moon is a domicile Venus in Libra, which is your 5th house. So this may bring an opportunity for harmony and recalibration emotionally when it comes to past love or love in general, or what makes you happy. And as Uranus retrogrades back into Taurus 2 days after this full moon, it does illuminate what you finally need to change and liberate yourself from. Mercury goes retrograde the 9th of November in your 6th house, which is your 7th house rather, which is your Sagittarius house of partnerships, and it will retrograde until the 29th of November. Mercury retrograde in this house, so close to Mars, means that you're rethinking your recent action when it comes to something with a partner, with a business relationship, with a partnership dynamic. Maybe you're regretting something that you said or something that you did, and you're reflecting on what adventure and higher learning means to you in the context of a relationship. So, where you travel to together, how you travel together, what you're learning about relationships as you go. Mercury will retrograde though back into your Scorpio 6th house, and this can bring some intense reflection on sixth house themes such as your health, your well-being, the work that you do, and what you're doing on a daily basis. So you're reflecting your job, and this can also bring some miscommunication to your work, Gemini. So try not to sweat the small stuff. The positive thing about this Mercury in Scorpio retrograde is that it will ignite the grand water trine. So you could resurrect and renew some old ideas or plans work-wise. You know, a job offer that you thought you missed came through, an opportunity to do something work-wise comes back, to take an exercise class, to go to the gym. You're back at the gym after a time period off, or something of that nature can occur with Mercury retrograde in the 6th. Jupiter goes retrograde in your 2nd house, Gemini, and over the next 4 months, this turns Jupiter's energy inward. So you're seeking greater wisdom from within about your finances and also about your sense of self-confidence, and a lot of your growth will happen on the inside. You can look back since June on what growth and wisdom you've been gaining when it comes to money, when it comes to the money that you make, the money that you spend, the sense of self-confidence that you have. And this is a time to reflect on the growth and opportunities that you've had in this area. And if they haven't been what you hoped yet, you can turn inward and re-examine your beliefs about this area, your beliefs about money in particular, and being paid what you are owed. You could also find with Jupiter retrograde that you find internal abundance, a stronger sense of self-confidence, a quiet self-confidence with Jupiter retrograde. The Jupiter retrograde can also bring gains from the past, Gemini. So money that you're owed coming back to you, gifts that other people want to give you that they haven't given you yet. You could be receiving more presents, more material gain from what you've done in the past, the effort that you've put into something in the past, the faith that you've put into something in the past, and you're generally turning inward and reflecting on your relationship to your finances. There is a new moon in Scorpio in your 6th house on the 20th of November. And this new moon brings a reset to Gemini and possibly some kind of resurrection or renewal here in your 6th house. So you could simply reset how you think about work, how you think about health. And this is an opportunity for a new chapter in your routines. Maybe there's a new job. Maybe you're going back to an old job. Maybe you're taking on a new role within work. Maybe you're returning to work. Maybe you're returning to the gym. Maybe you're resetting the way that you take care of yourself. Your wellness routines could change with this new moon, but it may be somewhat rooted in things you've done in the past and bringing them back into your routine, or just reflecting on what is and is not working for you in this area. But there are gains to be had from this reflection, Gemini, thanks to the ground water trines. Now, Sagittarius season comes into force on the 21st. And this brings your 7th house of relationships again more into focus for the next 30 days. And you could see a surge of activity happening in this area. So a lot of time with a partner, with a close relationship, with a best friend, with your business partner, activities happening with you and another person, being part of a dynamic duo. Gemini is likely over the next 30 days. You can even find a new partnership or a new relationship during this time if you're looking. Saturn stations direct on the 27th in your 10th house. Ooh. Saturn leaves this area for the next 29 years in February, and this shifts your internal review of your work and responsibilities to your job, to your career. And this is when you're going to see progress when it comes to your work and your career and your social status and how the world sees you. So between now and February, you'll see the reward of the last 3 years of hard work and responsibility that you've had with your job, with your career. And this is the last chapter in that cycle for nearly 30 years, and it's the last stint. So this is where you see the growth, especially with Saturn going direct. This is where you see the growth of the hard work, the long hours, the extra responsibility. You see why it had to happen. And you may also see what it is that you need to do in order to feel aligned to your purpose or your career, Gemini, as well. New chapters here. Mercury goes direct in Scorpio in your 6th house on the 29th. The good news about this is that Mercury direct means that you're getting some clarity about your job or about your health and your wellness, and the misunderstandings in these areas begin to dissipate going forward. Venus is in Scorpio for most of the month in your 6th house, and this can bring positivity to the relationships you have with your co-workers, your employees. There can be maybe going deeper with these people, getting to know them a lot better, sharing secrets with them or them sharing secrets with you. This may also be the people that you meet in the gym or exercising or within your routines. This can be the area of life where you find love, Gemini. Venus enters your partnership sector on the 30th, which is a wonderful time for relationships, and you can have more adventures with your partner, plan more vacations, or it makes it more likely that you would find love at this time as well, Gemini. With Uranus and Neptune both hanging out at 29 degrees of Taurus and Pisces this month and in a harmonious sextile, there are opportunities to integrate the energies of these planets before they change signs. So if you look at your Taurus house, Gemini, and your Pisces house, you can see how to blend these energies. For you, the Taurus house for you is your 12th house of behind the scenes work and healing, and Pisces is your career. So you might notice some healing when it comes to your career, your job, your purpose. You're able to let go of what no longer serves you, and you may find that you're having these intense inner breakthroughs about how to have a better professional experience or what goals you want to pursue, Gemini, as well. There's a lot of changing for you with career, a lot of changing for you with your social status, and I feel with Uranus, there's maybe things that you're letting go of or have been letting go of, and you're feeling a sense of peace and healing, and you're able to integrate these lessons so that you can embrace a new chapter in 2026. That is what I have for you, Gemini, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Cancer, welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Cancer, this month Mars, the planet of action, is moving into Sagittarius. Now, Mars energizes the theme of adventure in Sagittarius, and for you, it is activating your sixth house, which means that you'll be seeking greater adventure and wisdom when it comes to your health, your fitness, the way that you take care of your body, but also your job and the role that you have in your job and what you're doing on a day to day basis. These are areas of life where you are seeking greater action, you've more energy, and you notice that you have increased drive in pursuit of health goals. So, Mars going through the sixth house, I see it notoriously when someone is running a marathon or they are really smashing these gym goals that they have or personal fitness goals that they have. They have more energy for the gym, more drive to exercise or to eat better. But you can also see some increased conflict in this area. So maybe bickering with coworkers or bickering with your personal trainer, or maybe a little bit of debate with your doctor. Mars opposes Uranus on the 4th of November, which can bring some quarrels, Cancer, and some misunderstandings or restlessness. You could find that you are being opposed by someone else unexpectedly. Especially with Uranus in the 12th house, this is something you might not have seen coming. There could have been inner tension brewing for a while that you weren't aware of. So the tension between your 12th and 6th house, there could be some tension, anger, and unexpected tugs of war between you and another person. And this may not be something that you had on your radar, but there could be tension at work or tension in the gym or places of that nature. But speaking of Uranus, Uranus is going to move back into Taurus via retrograde on the 7th of November, and it's going to hover over that anaretic degree for the rest of the month. Uranus will be in Taurus until April 2026, so this is very much the final run of Uranus in Taurus in our lifetimes. And Uranus brings revolution and sudden change. So your 11th house of friendships, of social connections, of the work that you do for humanity, for the collective, it's experiencing some disruptions and unexpected events potentially. But as Uranus is retrograde, I think these revolutions and desires for change may well be happening internally. So maybe you're looking inward at your friendships and considering what no longer feels right. Maybe where there needs to be a little bit of liberation. So maybe you want to move away from a particular group, Cancer, or maybe you want to, maybe you and a friend have grown apart and it's quite unexpected, or you're sort of getting clarity on something you've been working on with a group of people. And maybe you're wanting to break free of this particular group or this particular endeavor. And these inner breakthroughs can come through. It is the final lap of Uranus and Taurus in our lifetime, so it is something that is worth noting. Your Taurus house also hosts a full moon on the 5th of November, and so it's illuminating your friendships, your companionship, your connections to groups, to teams, to memberships, social networking. These themes come to the fore, and you may have some intense feelings about it. But what I like about this full moon, Cancer, is that it is exalted in Taurus, and the dispositor is a domicile Venus in Libra, which for you is your 4th house. So this can bring an opportunity for increased harmony and recalibration. Maybe you're having people over to the house and it's going to be a lovely affair. You're going to connect with your friends at home, or you're having a social event with family. But with Uranus retrograding back into Taurus 2 days later, it's illuminating what does need to change nonetheless. And these changes might not be what everybody immediately understands, Cancer, but they make sense to you. Mercury goes retrograde on the 9th of November in your Sagittarius house, which is again your 6th house, and it will be retrograde there until the 29th of November. Mercury retrograde in your 6th house, so close to Mars, could have you rethinking recent action that you've taken in the gym, or that you've had conversations you've had in work, or conflict that you've had in work. And you might be looking for higher learning in the workplace, training, wanting more information, maybe getting to travel with your job. You're maybe rethinking whether or not you would like to travel with your job, or travel arrangements within your job. Mercury is going to retrograde back into Scorpio in your 5th house. And this can bring some intense reflection on romance, on dating. But also, the 5th house is your children. And it's also creative endeavors and what makes you happy, what you consider fun. So Mercury retrograding back into the sector on the 18th of November, and connecting in this grand trine energy can definitely resurrect perhaps an old romantic interest, or bring you back into the world of dating. Or maybe if you have children, you had plans to go to a concert or an event, and they fell through and now you have another chance to go, or there's some sort of fun endeavor that you get to go back to, or something that used to make you happy, you're bringing it back, Cancer. You're going to try it again and see if you get the same joy from it. Now, Jupiter's going retrograde in your sign this month. And Jupiter's going to be retrograde for the next 4 months in your sign, so it's turning the energy of Jupiter inward. So you're seeking greater wisdom from within. And a lot of the growth, especially for you as it's happening in your sign, is happening on the inside that Cancerian shell of yours. And the growth and wisdom you've been experiencing on a personal level since June, this is a time to reflect on the growth and opportunities that you've had, how you've grown as a person, the wisdom that you've received about yourself. And if things haven't quite been as lucky as you hoped with Jupiter Cancer, especially with Saturn having been in and out of your 10th house and Neptune as well, you can turn inward and re-examine your beliefs about this area, your beliefs about yourself, what you know about yourself. And maybe you've been keeping it small, you've been trying not to grow. You could find with Jupiter retrograde in your sign that you find internal abundance when it comes to self-love, self-confidence, self-esteem. But Jupiter retrograde can also bring back gains from the past, so personal gains from the past. You could find old items of clothing or jewelry that you used to wear that you really loved but you thought that you'd lost, or you can reconnect to a part of yourself that has been offline for a period of time and really reconnect to you. And the more this sense of self and the stronger connection that you have to yourself develops, the more you notice your abundance and things around you grow in the way that you want them to, Cancer. Sagittarius season comes into force on the 21st, and it's bringing your 6th house into focus for the next month. We obviously have had a lot of focus in that sector this month too, but you could notice a surge of activity happening in your job over the next 30 days. More to do. It's busy at your work, or you're more focused as well in the gym and your health. And it's an area of life where you're wanting to develop more self-confidence, Cancer. So feeling more on the ball at work, wanting to be more confident in the gym, wanting to be more confident when it comes to taking care of yourself. This is an area of life where you could be quite focused over the next month. There's a new moon in your Scorpio house though on the 20th of November, and that new moon brings a reset to your 5th house. This could bring, as I said before, possibly a resurrection or renewal when it comes to your dating life, but it could also be a new chapter when it comes to the life of a child in your life as well. There could be something that they are restarting at this time. You may also simply rethink your love life, or rethink what's going on with your children, or rethink a creative project. And you could actually bring an old project or something that you were working on creatively back and renew it and give it new life. Sometimes this is where you had a creative project, say you were a songwriter, you were writing this song and then it got shelved. And now you bring it out again and you think, oh, I know what this needs. You know, it's bringing it's very much the judgment card in tarot, the Scorpio energy with this new moon. It's about resetting and renewing and giving new life to old things. So maybe someone from the past does return romantically. Maybe you have something that you used to love to do and it fell by the wayside, and now you're bringing it back. This is about rethinking what brings you joy, and some of that may be rooted in the past. Saturn stations direct on the 27th in your Pisces house, which is for you, Cancer, your 9th house. Now, Saturn leaves this area for the next 29 years in February, and this shifts your internal review of your work, where you've been rethinking, maybe if you're in higher education, the work that you've been doing when it comes to your higher education, when it comes to studying, and the work that you've been doing perhaps when it comes to your beliefs as well, Cancer. If you've been working on your viewpoints of the world, you've been wanting greater knowledge and greater wisdom about the world, or maybe a specific country or a specific religion, or you've just been really taking your beliefs very seriously, this is shifting the internal review of all of that, and it's bringing forth progress. So between now and February, you'll see the reward of the hard work, the studying, the re-examining of your beliefs, the traveling or working to get a visa or working to save for that trip of a lifetime. This is when you see the reward of the hard work and responsibility that you've put in, Cancer, when it comes to traveling, when it comes to higher education, when it comes to your beliefs. Any hard work that you've been doing in this area will pay off between now and February. Mercury goes direct in Scorpio on the 29th, and on the same day, Venus in Scorpio opposes Uranus and Taurus at 29 degrees. So this is kind of a chaotic day. For you, it could be a chaotic day romantically for sure, but also with friendships, social parties, social engagements. There could be some unexpected moves from others, and there is potential for miscommunication and needing to rearrange plans. But the good news is that Mercury direct means that we get some mental clarity. And for you in your fifth house, you may have clarity about whether you want to give that person a second chance, whether you want to date again, whether you and your child are on the same page about their education, maybe, or whether you want to bring back this creative project and give it new life. You start to gain clarity on these areas that you've been reconsidering and rethinking for most of the month. Now, Venus is in Scorpio for the month, and this is your fifth house. So there is positive potential when it comes to dating, when it comes to romance in your life, having more romance in your life, having more romantic opportunities in your life. The retrograde of Mercury does make me think for some of you it's past people, but it can also be just having a good time. Venus going through the fifth house brings social opportunities, parties, concerts, theater trips, and also more positive relationships to your children and feeling more creative. So, do expect positive social encounters this month, Cancer, and positive experiences. Although with Scorpio energy, there's likely to be more depth than usual in these matters. Venus enters your sixth house on the 30th, which is going to bring positive energy to your relationships with your co-workers, with your employees as well. And you can perhaps expect to be on a training course with your work colleagues or your employees, or maybe even some of you are traveling with your job. With Uranus and Neptune both hanging out at 29 degrees of Taurus and Pisces this month, Cancer, they're in a harmonious sextile. So there's this opportunity for you to integrate energies with both your ninth house and your 11th house. So traveling with friends, meeting friends through university, through studying, learning from your friendships, embracing different viewpoints with your friendships, expanding your vision of the world, and also just feeling like you're healing when it comes to um, your beliefs, your connection to the divine, but also healing when it comes to making friends with people who are maybe quite different to what you expected. You might not have been friends with them 10 years ago, and you're finding that these people are like your family now. That can be somewhere you're experiencing a bit of a shift this month, Cancer. That is what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Leo, welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Leo, this month Mars, the planet of action, moves into Sagittarius. Now Mars energizes the theme of adventure in the sign of Sagittarius, and for you it's highlighting your fifth house, which means you could be seeking greater adventure and wisdom when it comes to your children, when it comes to your creative endeavors, what makes you happy, but also your love life. You could find that this is an area of life where you seek greater action and you notice an increased drive in pursuit of romance, perhaps, in pursuit of fun, of having a good time, creative endeavors, especially if these creative endeavors are energetic in nature. So, dancing, for example, might be something you're more interested in this month. And you might be more interested in traveling with perhaps a romantic partner or even traveling with your children if you have them. You may also see some increased conflict in this area. So, especially on the 4th of November when Mars is opposing Uranus, this can bring some quarrels, restlessness, and you could find opposition. So, maybe there are some quarrels with your children, or there is some frustration with a romantic interest, or you may find that something you're doing for fun or creatively is not quite going as planned. And it could be something that is quite frustrating for you. There could be some tension and anger and unexpected tugs of war when it comes to children, when it comes to your dating life, and when it comes to creative endeavors. Now, speaking of Uranus, Uranus is going to move back into Taurus via retrograde on November 7th, and it's going to hover over that anaretic degree for the rest of the month. The anaretic degree means that there is possibly a crisis or an impetus to act. Uranus is going to be in Taurus until April 2026, and this is the final run of it in our lifetimes. So, Uranus brings revolution and sudden change. So, your career could be experiencing some disruptions and unexpected events. So, your job, your career, your profession, your purpose, your public image. But as Uranus is retrograde, I think for you, Leo, these revolutions and desires for change may well be happening internally. Maybe you're looking inward at what no longer feels right on a professional level, what's no longer working, and you're contemplating maybe a bit of liberation. Maybe you want more freedom in your job or your career, or maybe you're wanting to be seen as someone who um, is a free thinker, is someone who is marching to the beat of their own drum. You could very well be looking for more freedom, I think, when it comes to your career. You could be experiencing these inner breakthroughs in this area as well. So, what you want to do professionally or how you see your career unfolding and developing. But your Taurus house also hosts a full moon on the 5th of November, so you might be more in the public eye. You might be more visible at this time. Your emotions about your career may be illuminated to you, how you're feeling about your career, your job, your purpose, how you're known to the world. And they could be intense feelings, but I really like the fact that this full moon is exalted in Taurus and the dispositor is a domicile Venus in Libra, which for you is your third house and brings these positive communications with others. This can bring an opportunity for harmony and recalibration with your career, but as Uranus retrogrades back into Taurus just 2 days later, I really think for you, Leo, it is illuminating what finally needs to change in your career, in your job, in your profession. And these changes are not what everybody will expect or immediately understand. This may also be a big announcement that you're putting out, Leo, that surprises people too. Mercury goes retrograde on the 9th of November in your fifth house and will be retrograde until the 29th of November. So, Mercury retrograde in your fifth house, especially so close to Mars, could have you rethinking recent action when it comes to your children or when it comes to your dating life or when it comes to creative endeavors, what you do for fun. And you could be seeking more information in this area, wanting to learn more about these things, maybe wanting to learn more about parenting or wanting to learn more about dating or any of these fifth house themes. Mercury's going to retrograde back into your fourth house on the 18th of November, your Scorpio fourth house, and this can bring some intense reflection on the home, on property matters and family matters. And the positive thing about this, Leo, is that Mercury retrograde in Scorpio will reignite a grand water trine, which means that you could resurrect some old plans when it comes to your home, or you could be reconnecting with family in a positive way, in a way that is healing. Be mindful of employing people to do work in the home if you have never encountered them before. They could be unreliable with Mercury retrograde in the fourth, though. This could be if there's someone that has been doing work for you that hasn't been doing that work for a while, they could come back into your life and finish something for you home wise. But Jupiter goes retrograde in your 12th house, and over the next 4 months, your Cancerian 12th house brings Jupiter's energy inward. So you're seeking greater wisdom from within and likely in solitude, Leo. You might really be enjoying time spent cocooning at home, being alone, being in isolation. Not necessarily lonely, by the way. It's more so where you really enjoy your own company and the inner work that you're doing. You might not be feeling so social. A lot of your growth is happening on the inside, and you may grow from letting go with Jupiter going through the house of losses and endings. The wisdom you've been gaining when it comes to losses and endings and letting go and releasing, and perhaps what you need to heal from, the wisdom that you've been gaining since June, it's time to reflect on that. And if things haven't been going as you hoped with your healing journey or with your spiritual journey, this is the time to re examine your beliefs about this area. You could also find with Jupiter retrograde that you just simply find internal abundance in these quiet moments in meditation. But Jupiter retrograde can also bring gains from the past. So, feeling as though you have a spiritual guide looking out for you, feeling as though you have been protected from something is quite common with Jupiter going through the 12th house. And this might be something that you recognize with Jupiter in retrograde. But I think for a lot of you, honestly, Leo, this can bring healing. And that can come in many ways. It can come through your children, it can come through a romantic partner, it can come through creativity. But I think a lot of you are healing with Jupiter retrograde in the 12th house. Sagittarius season comes into fourth on the 21st, and this is bringing your um, fifth house yet again into focus for the next month. And you can see a surge of activity happening there. So, a lot going on with your kids, or if you're single, a lot going on in your dating life. You might be looking to build a greater sense of self confidence in this area over the next 30 days. But before that, there is this new moon in Scorpio, which is your fourth house on the 20th of November. And this is bringing a reset and possibly a resurrection or renewal when it comes to your home, your house, your property, your family. It is in conjunction to the Mercury retrograde, so this might simply be that you reset how you think about this area, Leo. But there could be a new chapter with your home, your family. This could be a new chapter for one Leo rising where they buy a new house. This could be a new chapter for another Leo rising where they renovate, or this could be a new addition to the family. It can be so different for everybody. But what I will say is that with Mercury retrograde, be very cautious of signing any agreements at this time. Mercury goes direct from the 29th in your fourth house, and onward from there it's a much more positive time for signing or agreements because you will know where you stand. Mercury retrograde can sometimes bring a trickster energy, so if you're looking at new homes or looking to have work done in the home, be cautious and wait until after the 29th if you can. The 29th can be quite a chaotic day because Venus and Uranus are in opposition in your fourth house, 10th house axis. So there could be some relationship tension when it comes to home and family matters. And unexpected moves from others can increase this potential for miscommunication because maybe you just don't know what to say. The good news is that Mercury retrograde is ending. So you do get some mental clarity here, and the misunderstandings will dissipate going forward. Venus is in Scorpio for most of the month, which brings positivity to your relationships with family. So, this can be a nice time to hang out at home, to have family over, to have friends over to the house, to find things that work in your home. With Mercury retrograde there and Venus there, I feel as though if you're going to redecorate, make sure that you save receipts. Make sure that these aren't drastically different to your home's aesthetic because it may increase chances of regret. And doing anything permanent is not advised either because you could change your mind with Mercury retrograde, or it might not go the way you expected it to. But with Venus here, you can expect more positive social encounters and experiences with family or within the home. Venus then enters your fifth house on the 30th. This is a wonderful time for dating, for falling in love, for planning date night with your partner, having more adventurous dates with your partner as well, going somewhere out of town or planning a trip with your romantic partner, or even with your children if you have them. Going on little adventures and little play dates with your kids can be more enjoyable with Venus going through your fifth house. And that is what I have for you, Leo. I hope you have a wonderful November, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Virgo, welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Virgo, this month Mars, the planet of action, moves into Sagittarius, and Mars energizes the theme of adventure in Sagittarius. And for you, it is activating your fourth house of home and property, which means that you could be seeking greater adventure and wisdom when it comes to property matters, home renovations, purchasing a home, moving homes, or spending time with your family. So, this could be an area where you notice increased action, more going on with your home, more going on with your family, having work done in the home. Maybe some of you are looking for a property abroad, or you're noticing that you want to work on your home, renovate, redecorate. But you can also see some increased conflict in this area. Mars opposes Uranus and Gemini on the 4th of November, which can bring some quarrels, some restlessness, and you could find some opposition from Uranus going through your 10th house, which for you is to do with your career. There could be some tension, anger, and unexpected tugs of war for you, Virgo, between your home life and your career. So maybe family frustrated that you're always at work, or maybe your job frustrated that you're always working from home, or there's some sort of tension between your private life and your public life. But there can certainly be, with Mars going through the fourth house, increased bickering maybe with your roommates or with your family as well. Because Uranus and Mars, when they get together, it can bring unexpected eruptions. So just watch for that around the 4th. But speaking of Uranus, Uranus is going to move back into your fellow Earth sign Taurus via retrograde on November 7th. And it's going to hover over that anoretic, crisis degree for the rest of the month. So crisis means immediate desire to change, to make these changes, and to finally integrate the lessons that Uranus has been bringing over the last, gosh, since 2018, 7 years. Uranus will be in Taurus until April 2026. This is the final run of Uranus in Taurus for all of us in our lifetime. So Uranus brings revolution and sudden change. So when it comes to your ninth house, which is travel, which is higher education, which is your beliefs, there can be some disruptions and unexpected events. But because Uranus is retrograde Virgo, these revolutions and desires for change may very well be happening for you internally. Maybe you're looking inward at your beliefs, your religious perspectives, your spiritual perspectives, the way that you view the world, and you're considering a bit of liberation. Maybe you want to let go of an old belief. Maybe you want to let go of an old way of viewing the world or interacting with the world. You could be experiencing inner breakthroughs in this area. Maybe when it comes to higher education, something you've been studying, maybe you're finally wrapping up a degree, or you've been planning this travel trip for such a long time and you're finally wrapping up what it's going to be. But you're learning a lesson here because this is the final lap of Uranus and Taurus. So some sort of inner breakthrough is coming for ninth house matters. Higher education, travel, belief systems. Your Taurus house also hosts a full moon in this sector. So that full moon in the fifth house, and in that full moon in the ninth house on the 5th of November, rather, these themes of travel, these themes of higher education, these themes of belief, they all come to the fore. So maybe some of you are traveling, planning a trip, finalizing a trip, or you're graduating, or you're getting news about your exams or your university experience. These themes are all coming to the fore, and you may have quite intense feelings about this, Virgo, or quite intense feelings about your beliefs. And with the dispositor of this full moon being Venus in Libra, which is your second house, you're looking at your beliefs as, what gives you a sense of value and a sense of self-confidence. There's a connection there, but it can also be that you're spending money on traveling, taking a trip, or education. This full moon can bring an opportunity for greater harmony and emotional recalibration after that volatile Mars-Uranus opposition as well. But with Uranus retrograding back into Taurus 2 days after this full moon, it certainly seems to be illuminating what finally needs to change for you, Virgo, when it comes to your beliefs or when it comes to traveling or education. And these are changes that other people might not necessarily understand because Uranus is quite unique. And Uranus isn't looking for people to accept who it is, it just simply is. So Mercury goes retrograde on the 9th of November in your Sagittarius house and will be retrograde until the 29th of November. Mercury retrograde so close to Mars, you could be rethinking recent action or conversations with family or with home matters and sort of reflecting on, a Sagittarius energy is very philosophical. What you've learned about what your family is or how your family communicate, or what you've learned about your home property arrangements, or maybe you're rethinking changes you've made in the home or conversations that you've had with a family member. You're giving it a second glance. Mercury retrogrades back into Scorpio on the 18th, which for you is your third house, and this is your communication house. So you're definitely, something is prompting you to rethink how you communicate, Virgo. Maybe rethinking the way that you text or how promptly you reply, or your connection to your phone, your connection to your gadgets. Phones and gadgets might be kind of annoying this month, I'm not going to lie. Unexpected needs for rebooting on your computer, your phone losing signal and not getting it back for a day, things like that can happen with Mercury retrograde in the third. But the positive thing about this is that Mercury retrograde will ignite a grand water trine, so there can be some great ideas come back that you hadn't actioned yet. Important conversations coming back from the past, important connections with siblings, with neighbors, important communications with these people can be resurrected. Maybe talking about something from the past and reminiscing and maybe bonding through that. Of Virgo. Jupiter is going to go retrograde in your Cancerian 11th house over the next 4 months, and this is turning Jupiter's energy inward. So you're seeking greater wisdom from within when it comes to your friendships and when it comes to your social life and groups of people. And Jupiter has been there since June. So how has your social life expanded? Have you been more social? Have you made new friends? Have you expanded your social network? Have you connected with new people? Have you been putting yourself out there socially? If it's not going the way that you wanted it to, This is where the energy turns inward and you re-examine your beliefs about these people, in this area of life. So re-examining your beliefs about yourself socially, about how you mingle, how you network, how you connect with other people. And you could also find that you maybe start to feel a sense of internal abundance. Maybe you're realizing that, okay, I've not expanded my social network, I've not made new friends, but I've deepened the ones that I have, and I'm really appreciative for those. That can be the way that this goes. But Jupiter retrograde can also bring gains from the past. So, friendships who want to help you, friendships who you did a favor for a few months ago, they want to pay you back. They want to thank you for something. It can bring gains from the past socially. So, maybe you networked a few months ago and nothing came of it, and then this person contacts you and says, hey, I'd actually like to follow up on this opportunity. Would you be interested still? Jupiter brings gains from the past. There's a new moon in your Scorpio third house on the 20th of November, Virgo, and this new moon brings a reset and possibly some kind of resurrection or renewal in your third house. So think a reset in your relationship to a sibling, to a neighbor, a new car, a new gadget, new phone. But be careful of signing on the dotted line. Any new contracts of that matter should probably wait until after the 29th when Mercury is direct, but that new moon can bring clarity where you realize I need a new car, or I need to service this car, or I need a new phone, or I need to let this issue go with a sibling. It feels as though there's a reset in this area for you, and it might also be where you're wanting to learn something new, to study something, but I think with Mercury retrograde, you may have wanted to study this before, and this can simply also be, Virgo, a reset in how you think, how you communicate, and how you speak or don't speak, or listen or don't listen. You know, it's resetting your whole relationship to communication and how you think generally, what your mindset is. So there could be some new habits coming in here too. Sagittarius season comes into force on the 21st, and this brings your home and family into focus for the next month. There's a lot of activity happening here over the next 30 days, and you could find that you're looking to express yourself more and build a greater sense of self-confidence. So self-confidence with how you approach your home life or how you approach your family, looking for a greater sense of self-confidence and self-empowerment in the home, but certainly focusing more on the home and focusing more on family relationships. And there could be a lot happening with your family over the next 30 days from the 21st of November. Saturn stations direct on the 27th in your Pisces 7th house. So Saturn leaves this area for the next 29 years in February. So between now and February, Virgo, this is shifting your internal review of the work and responsibilities that you have to your partner, to relationships, your romantic partner, your business partner, best friend, how you're connecting with other people. And this is going to show you the progress, because Saturn going direct shows you the progress, the reward for the hard work. Between now and February, you see the reward of the hard work that you put into your relationship. So this is when you get engaged, you get married, you buy a home as a partnership, you find a partner who's suitable for you, you feel like you can finally commit to someone. You start to see rewards from the business partnership that you entered. You start to see how great it is to have a best friend. You start to notice the reward for the hard work that you've put into your partnerships and your connections, Virgo. Mercury goes direct in Scorpio on the 29th, and on the same day, Venus opposes Uranus. This is a quite chaotic day on the 29th. You could see that there's some unexpected moves from others, and you could find that there's some unexpected disagreements or miscommunication. But the good news is that Mercury direct means that there's mental clarity on the horizon, and these misunderstandings begin to dissipate going forward. Just keep your wits about you that day. There could be a lot up in the air, and things could shift and change quite a bit. Venus is in Scorpio for most of the month, and that brings positivity to your relationships to your siblings, your neighbors, your aunts, your uncles. These are people that you get on better with, and you can have positive social encounters or experiences with, even if there are some misunderstandings here and there with Mercury retrograde. There could also be increased depth in your relationship to a sibling, maybe confiding in each other's a sibling or a neighbor or a cousin. Someone confides in you this month, Virgo. Venus is entering your fourth house from the 30th, and this really improves your relationship with your family, positive, fun, lively social events. Maybe some of you are traveling with family, getting together with your family for the holidays, connecting with your families, getting nice new furnishings for the home, decorating the home in a way that feels beautiful and you really love the energy of the home. And as I say, with Sagittarius energy, you could be actually traveling with your family or having a sense of adventure. Uranus and Neptune are both hanging out at 29 degrees of Taurus and Pisces. And I feel like for a lot of you, there could be opportunities to travel with a person in your life and to really shake up your view in the world because of another person. There's likely someone in your life, Virgo, who helps you see the world differently, and that is maybe a liberating thing for you. It maybe gets you out of your comfort zone. You know, maybe you're dating someone from a different country or a different background, or someone who really marches to the beat of their own drum. They're a little bit unique. Or this is a best friend or a business partner or someone who just helps you heal by seeing things differently. So be open to communication this month. You're rethinking how you communicate, but maybe that is because you're listening to different people than usual. And that is what I have for you, Virgo, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Libra, welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Libra, this month Mars, the planet of action, moves into the sign of Sagittarius, and Mars in Sagittarius energizes and emphasizes the theme of adventure. And for you, Libra, it's activating your local third house. So this is about community. You'll be seeking greater adventure and wisdom when it comes to your neighborhood, local events, community, um, adventures in the car, taking short trips, and perhaps going on adventures with your siblings or visiting extended family, or maybe even finding that you're wanting to learn more about your local community, taking a class in your local community, for example, or a workshop. You may find that this generally is an area of life where you seek action and you notice that you have increased drive in pursuit of third house affairs. So that can be that you're looking for an adventure of the mind. Maybe you're looking to study something new, or you have more local interests, community events that you're going to, or workshops that you're taking in your local neighborhood, your local town. You could also, though, see some increased conflict in this area, so that could be disagreements with neighbours, especially around the 4th of November when Mars opposes Uranus in Gemini. This can bring some quarrels, restlessness, and you could find some opposition, perhaps with your neighbours or perhaps about belief systems. Perhaps there's a clash between you and someone else about what you believe in, what you believe in spiritually, perhaps, or what you believe in politically, or something to do with your worldview could clash with someone else's. You could experience some tension, anger, and unexpected tugs of war. Now, speaking of Uranus, Uranus is actually going to move back into Taurus via retrograde, and it's going to hover over that 29 degrees, which is the anaretic degree, for the rest of the month. Now, Uranus is going to be in Taurus until April 2026. So, this is the final run of Uranus in Taurus in our lifetimes. And Uranus brings revolution and sudden change to your 8th house via retrograde. So you could be experiencing some disruptions and unexpected events or changes when it comes to joint finances, your partner's money, your spouse's money, the money you receive from the government, loans, mortgages, banks, big money. There could be some sort of unexpected shift or change. Now, because Uranus is retrograde, these revolutions and changes may well be happening internally for you, Libra. Maybe you're looking inward at what no longer feels right and you're contemplating where you could do with a bit of liberation. And this could be financially, so you could be perhaps deciding it's time to finally liberate yourself from some debt or some financial arrangement, perhaps. But you could also be having inner breakthroughs when it comes to shadow work, psychology, working through something sticky with a therapist, or working through some emotional baggage or past trauma. That can be where you experience this inner breakthrough where suddenly this matter, this pattern, doesn't bother you anymore. And you feel liberated from it, especially because that retrograde, it does bring the energy inward, and there could be some significant shifts and transformations internally for you, Libra. And with that 8th house energy, there is a full moon on the 5th of November. And this is illuminating 8th house themes for you. So this can be themes of change, transformation, as I mentioned before, your joint financial arrangements, big sums of money, but also shadow work, psychology. These themes can come very much to the fore, and eighth house full moons, they can feel a bit raw. And this one feels very personal to you because the dispositor of this full moon is a domicile Venus in Libra, your sign. So this can bring an opportunity for harmony and recalibration for you emotionally, but you could certainly be going through a very personal transformation at this time. With Uranus retrograding back into Taurus 2 days later, I feel for you, Libra, that you are very much having what needs to change and what needs to be transformed, illuminated in your life, and you will perhaps be making changes that not everyone understands as well. Mercury is going retrograde on the 9th of November in your Sagittarius house, which again for you is the third house, as I mentioned at the start of the reading. And the third house is about your mindset. So you might have a little bit of a slower approach to thinking. You might be slower to find the right words, like I just was. And with Mercury going retrograde in your third house, Libra, this is really where you have to think twice about what you say, because it's easier than usual for words to come out wrong when Mercury's retrograde in the third house. And it's easier to say something that you regret, especially because Mercury retrograde in this house, so close to Mars, could have you rethinking something that you said in the heat of the moment. And you might also be reflecting generally with that third house energy of where you could maybe seek a little bit more adventure, as I mentioned before, when it comes to learning, workshops that you want to take or classes that you want to take, or maybe even classes that you want to launch, that you want to take yourself, workshops that you want to take. With the retrograde, you could be connecting with people that you knew from school, but it can also be that you're reconnecting with people that you've done classes before. Retrogrades, they tend to bring about people from the past or experiences from the past. The third house can be about communication, workshops, books, learning, that type of thing. So maybe you're going back to school on something. But Mercury will retrograde back into Scorpio on the 18th of November, which is your second house. And this brings some intense reflection on second house affairs, such as money, the money that you make, the money that you spend. The positive thing about this Mercury in Scorpio retrograde is that this can bring back money to you because it is reigniting this ground water trine, which can resurrect and renew perhaps an old idea that you had to make money or bring money back to you in some way, shape, or form. Or you could get clarity on your spending by reflecting, of course, but there can be miscommunications about money. And one thing I will always say about Mercury retrograde in the second is do keep a closer eye on your online banking, because Mercury retrograde tends to bring about more scammers or internet fraud. So be more mindful and vigilant about that, especially because Scorpio is actually a financial sign as well. Jupiter is going retrograde in your Cancerian 10th house. And over the next 4 months, Libra, this turns Jupiter's energy inward. So you may be seeking greater wisdom from within, and a lot of your growth will happen on the inside. What growth and wisdom have you been gaining in your 10th house since Jupiter's grand entry to Cancer in June? The 10th house is about career, it's about your public image, it's about your purpose in life, your calling in life. And that's not always about career. Your calling can be quite different, but a part of your journey that feels significant to you can be illuminated while Jupiter goes through Cancer. And this can be a time to reflect on the growth and opportunities that you've had professionally. And if they haven't been what you have hoped, this is the turning point where you can look inward and examine your beliefs about these things. What do you believe about your purpose? What do you believe about your career? What do you believe about your public image, your public standing? Jupiter does tend to bring expansion and growth, and it can bring a lot of blessings, yes. The retrograde is the reflection point where you remember that a lot of your beliefs shape these experiences. So what do you believe about your career? What do you feel attuned to professionally? And you could also find with Jupiter retrograde that you find internal abundance and fulfillment in this area. So maybe you don't feel like you have to do more for your career, or you feel quite content with what you have. But Jupiter retrograde can also bring gains from the past, rewards from the past. You could find that past professional connections return to your life to bless you. There's a new moon in your Scorpio second house on the 20th of November. And this new moon is bringing a reset and possibly some kind of resurrection or renewal for you financially. You might actually simply reset how you think about this area of life thanks to the conjunction to Mercury retrograde, but this can certainly bring a new chapter for you financially, Libra. Maybe you are rethinking how you make money and you're coming up with an old idea. It's coming back around again and you're going to implement it going forward. Or perhaps the same money that's owed to you comes back around, or you're just rethinking your spending. Sagittarius season comes into force on the 21st, and you have a lot of focus on your third house this month anyway, but for the next 30 days from the 21st, the sun going through your third house can see a surge of activity happening for you locally, being more involved in your neighborhood, with communities, with groups of people locally to you, being more active in your community, spending more time with your siblings or neighbors, or also focusing on your car. For whatever reason, sometimes there's a need to take a lot of trips in the car, and that can bring an increased need for maintenance. And you can also find with the sun going through the third house, you're more curious. Do watch for doom scrolling because you can feel this insatiable need for information with the sun going through the third house. And obviously, with the Mercury retrograde, be mindful that some of the information that's being put out is not necessarily accurate. It's there to manipulate you as an audience in some way. So be mindful of what you're taking in with the sun going through your third house. Saturn stations direct on the 27th in your Pisces house. And for you, Libra, this is your 6th house of wellness and routines, and also your job. So Saturn leaves this area for the next 29 years in February. This has been a 3.5-year cycle. This is the final lap of it. Now, this shifts your internal review of your work and responsibilities when it comes to your health. Any challenges or limitations when it comes to your health. You've been rethinking how you take care of yourself, how you do your job as well. And this final lap brings progress. This is where you see the results of your hard work and effort when it comes to your daily routines, your wellness, and how you've been taking your health and work more seriously. Between now and February, you see the reward for this and the responsibility that you've put into your Pisces house. And it really does start to pay off. So if you have quit smoking, you will notice the difference. If you have been focusing on eliminating anything from your diet that is actually not good for you in a way that you react to it with Pisces energy, because Pisces can be about poison. So what is not working well with your system, anything that you have eliminated or restricted, you see the results of that with Saturn going through your 6th house direct. And you might also see that if you've been doing a lot of hard work on your job that has gone unrecognized, this may be where you get the recognition. Mercury is going direct in Scorpio on the 29th. And on the same day, Venus, your ruling planet, opposes Uranus at the crisis degree 29 degrees of Scorpio and Taurus. So this can be quite a chaotic day with relationships of all kinds, Libra, especially when it comes to financial understandings between you and another person. There can be miscommunication here. So the good news is that Mercury direct means that you're getting some mental clarity and awareness when it comes to finances, and possibly even your values with the 2nd house. Misunderstandings will begin to dissipate going forward, but Mercury is still in shadow until December. So there can be remnants of this, but there could certainly be some sort of financial surprise going on that day for you, Libra. Venus is in Scorpio for most of the month, and this is bringing positivity to your finances. And Venus going through the 2nd house can bring you more opportunities to receive money, to receive gifts, to find things that you want to spend your money on is another way that Venus going through the 2nd house can manifest, so watch for that. Do expect positive social encounters with other people who share your values or can in some way, shape or form validate you. You know, they help your sense of self-confidence. You get more compliments. People want to give you things, and people can be more generous to you when Venus is going through the 2nd house. Now, Venus enters your 3rd house on the 30th, and this is going to bring a sense of positivity and pleasant connection when it comes to siblings, neighbors, and people that you encounter on your everyday basis, people you encounter locally. It can be fun to socialize with siblings. It can be fun to socialize at your neighbors' homes. It can also be a nice time to clean out your car, spruce up your car. You can expect adventures with siblings or neighbors, perhaps. But with Uranus and Neptune both hanging out at 29 degrees of Taurus and Pisces, Libra, and in this harmonious sextile, there are opportunities to integrate the energies of these planets before they do change signs for a long period of time in 2026. So this positive interchange between Uranus and Neptune for you, Libra, can be where you notice perhaps there is a lot of inner healing and inner transformations, and they're changing the way that you take care of yourself. So you could notice that you're incorporating more practices that deal with improving your mental health or healing from the past or doing shadow work. The more you integrate these into your routines, for you, Libra, you will start to feel this sense of healing and harmony, maybe noticing more so the connection between your soul, your psyche, and your body, and how perhaps a physical ailment uh, corresponds to something spiritually. So, say, someone was asking me earlier about having foot pain, and that can be about where you feel like the efforts that you're putting forward, the steps that you're taking, aren't quite going the way that you hoped they would. And this is manifesting as an emotion. And that's not to in any way, shape, or form write off modern medicine, but it's sometimes interesting to look at the spiritual connections, the emotional connections of the body to help you heal as well. That is what I have for you, Libra, and I will talk to you soon. Hi, Scorpio. Welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Scorpio, very happy birthday to any of you celebrating in November. I know I'm celebrating on the 14th, so if I have any birthday twins, let me know. But this horoscope is tailored more so for Scorpio rising, but it may also apply to your sun as well. So, Scorpio, this month, Mars, your traditional ruling planet, the planet of action, is moving into the sign of Sagittarius. Mars energizes the theme of adventure in Sagittarius, and for you, it's activating your second house of money. So, you could be seeking greater adventure with your money. Perhaps you are spending money on travel. Or perhaps you are spending money on higher education, on learning, on spiritual things, crystals, that type of thing. You may also find, though, that this is an area of life where you're seeking action and you notice increased drive in pursuit of money. So, ways of making money, getting more sales, looking for a better paying job. You could very much find yourself pursuing money. Mars is quite a it's a passionate energy, so you could find that you're also spending more money, and you could see some increased conflict in this area, Scorpio. So maybe fighting about money. Mars is opposing Uranus and Gemini on the 4th of November, which can bring some unexpected quarrels, restlessness, and you could find some opposition, likely with someone that you are in bed with financially. So there's a financial connection between you and someone else. Maybe there's a disagreement. This could be quite unexpected. There could be some tension and unexpected tugs of war between you and someone else financially. Or it can be to do with values. Mars going through the second house can bring conflict over values and priorities with you and another person. Now, speaking of Uranus, Uranus is going to move back into Taurus via retrograde on the 7th of November and will hover over that anaretic crisis degree for the rest of the month. Uranus will be in Taurus until April 2026. So this is the final run of Uranus in Taurus in our lifetimes. Uranus brings revolution and sudden change, so your 7th house of partnerships, relationships, and connections could be experiencing some disruptions and unexpected events. However, as Uranus is retrograde, these revolutions and desires for change may well be happening internally, Scorpio. Perhaps you're looking inward at what no longer feels right in your relationship, in your marriage, in your partnership, or even your single life, what you want from a partner. And you're considering a bit of liberation. So you might be dating someone very different to what you're used to. You might be suddenly leaving a relationship, or at least it seems sudden to the outside world. You could be experiencing these profound inner breakthroughs in this area, though. What you want from a relationship, what you need for a relationship, what needs to change within your relationship. And this final lap of Uranus in Taurus in our lifetime is going to be where you understand how to integrate these energies, how you integrate the need for freedom and self-expression within your relationships. So your Uranus house, your partnership house, is hosting a full moon on November 5th. And so this area of life is very much illuminated for you in the first half of November. Themes of partnership, connection come to the fore. Maybe there's a change within an existing relationship. Maybe there is a new relationship coming to the fore. And you could feel a lot of intense feelings about someone in your life. What I really like about this full moon, Scorpio, is that it's exalted in Taurus. Maybe you're going official with somebody. Maybe you're getting engaged. Maybe you're getting married. Maybe you're meeting someone. Or if you're leaving a relationship, maybe this is where you feel clarity on that and you feel like you made the right decision. The dispositor is a domicile Venus in Libra in your 12th house of endings and closure, but it's also the house of healing. So maybe a relationship is healing, or maybe it is time for a relationship to come to its natural close. Or perhaps you are exposing a private relationship. This can bring an opportunity for harmony and recalibration, especially after a very volatile Mars-Uranus opposition. But however, Uranus retrograding back into Taurus 2 days later can illuminate what really does need to change finally in this area of life, and other people might not necessarily understand your choices. Now, Mercury is going retrograde November 9th in your second house of money and will be retrograde until the 29th of November. Mercury retrograde in this house so close to Mars could have you rethinking action, Scorpio, that you've taken financially. And also reflecting on maybe what you could learn about money, maybe wanting to become more financially literate. Mercury retrogrades back into your sign on November 18th in your first house. And this is where you feel some intense reflection personally. What you want, what you need, and who you are, and how you communicate personally, Scorpio. Maybe you're rethinking how you approach communication with others, especially socially. This positive energy coming from Mercury retrograde is because of the grand trine that Mercury is forming with Saturn and Jupiter. So this can resurrect some new ideas, rather old ideas, Scorpio, that you can integrate in a new way. So that can be where you have an idea from the past. And one thing I'm sort of noticing as a Scorpio as I'm reading this is that it's kind of harder to communicate with Mercury retrograde in your sign. So maybe that is something you're experiencing, Scorpio. You can feel a bit lost for words at times. Jupiter is going to go retrograde in your Cancerian house, which is your 9th house. And so over the next 4 months, this is turning Jupiter's energy inward. And the way that that can work for you, Scorpio, is that you're seeking this greater wisdom within, and you can have a lot of adventures on the inside. You know, you can really experience a lot of soul growth and wisdom about yourself and your beliefs. With Jupiter being in Cancer since June, you may have traveled more, you may have taken trips, you may have felt a calling to travel more or to study something new, to pursue higher education. And this is a time to reflect on all the growth and opportunities that you've had since then. And if it hasn't been the way that you hoped, you know, maybe you haven't traveled anywhere when you wanted to, maybe you didn't get into the university that you wanted, whatever the case may be, Scorpio, or you're doubting yourself on your education path, Jupiter turning retrograde and going inward really helps you connect with your beliefs and re-examine your beliefs about these things. Maybe you believe that you can't travel, or maybe you believe that you won't get into the university, or maybe you believe that you can't get this degree. This is a time to reflect on those beliefs and re-examine them. But what you could find with Jupiter retrograde, Scorpio, is that it brings gains from the past. It can bring back mentors, it can bring back teachers, it can bring back opportunities to travel, to go somewhere you've been before, but maybe to see it in a more expansive way, to go back to school, to go back to university, whatever the case may be. It can bring back gains from the past. It can bring back important knowledge, important lessons. There's a new moon in your sign on the 20th of November. This is your cosmic reset. It's your annual new moon. And this can bring, for you, Scorpio, a resurrection or renewal of self. So maybe you're wanting to reinvent your image. I would recommend with Mercury retrograde not to do anything permanent, but maybe there is a style in your past that you would like to bring back. Maybe going back to your natural hair color. Maybe going back to a makeup look that you used to wear. Maybe bringing out your winter boots that you haven't worn in a couple of years. Whatever the case may be, Scorpio, you may be sort of having this renewal where you're integrating past parts of yourself into the new you and really reconnecting with yourself and your personal needs. This new moon is quite independent. It's asking you what you want. It's asking you what you need from the year ahead. And the Mercury retrograde can give you clarity and an opportunity to rethink what that is, rethink your image. You as a Scorpio know you're never too old to reinvent yourself. And this new moon is going to show you how. Sagittarius season comes into force on the 21st, and this is shifting your focus from yourself to your money. And you can see a surge of activity happening here. When the sun goes through your second house over the next 30 days, you're looking to express yourself more. Maybe you're looking to express yourself through your money. How you spend your money is going to be more important to you. It's going to be more meaningful for you. You could be investing money into gaining self-confidence, getting a coach perhaps, but you're going to really get your self-confidence, Scorpio, from your values more than anything else. Knowing what is a priority to you and just working on your self-confidence, building yourself up, focusing on self-validation, and maybe even, yes, focusing on your spending and your relationship to money. Second house seasons can see opportunities for financial growth as well. But I do think the sun going through the second is where you start to really focus on obtaining a greater sense of self-confidence and self-belief. Now, Saturn stations direct on the 27th of November, and this is happening in your Pisces 5th house. So Saturn leaves this area for the next 29 years in February. And this is shifting your internal review of your work and responsibilities when it comes to your children, when it comes to your creative endeavors, when it comes to what makes you happy. And you may have found since Saturn was retrograde that happiness was very much an inside job for you. You were really looking inward at what makes you happy, what makes you feel fulfilled, and also what do you want from dating? What kind of people do you want to date if you're single? What do you want from your romantic connections if you're partnered? You may have been doing an internal review of these things. And Saturn going direct in November is where you start to see the rewards. Maybe you start to see that if you have children that are putting in the work and the effort in their exams, in their school, whatever the case is, you start to see the rewards for their efforts. Or if you've been really working on your parenting, or you've become a parent, you start to see the payoff for the hard work. You know, you notice that your kid is doing really well in school, or you notice that they're growing into a really well-mannered human being. You notice the rewards for your hard work as a parent. And maybe for some of you, your creativity, what you've been working on artistically, you start to see the reward for the hard work that you've been doing. And if you've been thinking about, okay, what works for me creatively, or just generally what makes me happy, you've been rethinking this and really working on figuring out what that is, or working on developing that sense of happiness. This is where you see the reward. Mercury goes direct in your sign in the 29th, and on the same day, Scorpio, there is a Venus-Uranus opposition at the crisis degree. So this day could be quite chaotic. I won't lie to you. You could find that there's a lot of potential for miscommunication with Mercury stationing. You could have a lot of unexpected interactions with other people. They could be acting in a way that's a bit unusual or out of character. The good news, though, is that Mercury direct does mean that you're going to have some mental clarity, especially if you are struggling with finding the words or you're putting your foot in it. And these misunderstandings will begin to dissipate going forward, even if Mercury is still in shadow until December. Venus in Scorpio for most of the month is beautiful for you, Scorpio, because you are going to be magnetic, alluring, seductive, more so than usual. And this is bringing a lot of positivity to your relationship with yourself. You know, it's bringing positivity to your Scorpio house. Expect positive social interactions or experiences with others, and expect more compliments, especially if you are finding yourself very much leaning into the Scorpio aesthetic, you know, wearing red, wearing black, kind of vampy. You could get a lot of compliments this month with Venus in your sign, because when Venus goes through a particular sign, collectively we find the themes of that sign more beautiful. So you may find that you're the belle of the ball in many occasions, Scorpio, with Venus in your sign. And it is your relationship to yourself. So you may find that other people are pursuing you more, yes, and you're getting more validation, yes, but you will notice an increased sense of connection and self-love with yourself. Venus enters your money house in the 30th, which is really positive news for you financially, Scorpio. You can attract more gifts, you can attract more material assets, and you can attract more money into your life. But you could also notice that you just feel that enhanced sense of self-confidence too. And you're getting it from knowing what your priorities are. Maybe you have been rethinking your priorities with Mercury retrograde, and the clarity is giving you an increased sense of self-confidence. But I do think with the Sagittarius energy this month, Scorpio, you're likely spending your money on travel or adventure or higher learning. With Uranus and Neptune both hanging out at 29 degrees of Taurus and Pisces this month, in this harmonious sextile, there's a lot of opportunities for you, Scorpio, to integrate the energies of partnership and love before these planets change signs. You may notice that you can blend the energy of connection more. You could find that you're more aware of what you need and want in relationships. You're certainly reflecting on that. You're certainly reflecting on what you need from connections. And I think there could be a lot of healing going on for you when it comes to how you connect with other people. And you could find that other people are helping you dream big, or other people are even helping you collaborate with them creatively. That's what I have for you, Scorpio, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Now Sagittarius, this month Mars, the planet of action, is moving into your sign. Now Mars energizes the theme of adventure in Sagittarius, and for you it's activating your first house of self, of identity, of new beginnings, of first impressions, of attitude. So you may be feeling more adventurous this month, Sagittarius. You might be seeking more adventure in your life, to travel more, to learn more. You might be feeling more expansive and looking for more wisdom of self, getting to know yourself better, treating yourself like the main character. And you can also find that this is an area of life where you're seeking greater action. So you might have more energy to pursue the things that you want, Sagittarius. But you can see some increased conflict in this area. You can sometimes feel a bit more argumentative or a bit more touchy when Mars is going through your first house. But it can certainly give you a boost of energy to do the things that you want to do, to pursue the things that you want for yourself. Just be careful, because Mars going through the first house can sometimes be where we have this surge of energy and we overdo it and then we burn out. So just be mindful of trying to get a bit more balance, take that vacation if you need it. Mars is opposing Uranus in Gemini on the 4th of November. And this can bring some quarrels, this can bring some restlessness, and you might find some opposition, Sagittarius, between you and another person. There could be tension with a partner, unexpected anger in a relationship, or an unanticipated tug of war between you and someone else happening. That is quite a volatile day. Now, speaking of Uranus, Uranus is going to move back into Taurus via retrograde on November 7th, and it will hover over the anaretic degree of Taurus for the rest of the month. Now, Uranus will be in Taurus until April 2026, so this is the final run of Uranus and Taurus in our lifetimes. And Uranus brings revolution. It brings sudden change. So your sixth house could experience some disruptions. Disruptions at your job, disruptions in your routines, and there can be some unexpected events or developments when it comes to your work, the roles that you have, or what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, Sagittarius. But I do feel as Uranus is retrograde, these revolutions and changes can well be happening internally for you. And perhaps you are looking inward at what no longer is working for you when it comes to your job, what no longer feels right with your routines or how you're taking care of your health or well-being, and you're looking for a bit of liberation. You're considering how you could make things a little bit more up to date in your sixth house. So maybe some of you are looking for a new job, or maybe some of you are looking for a new gym or a new way of exercising. Maybe you're trying something new and novel when it comes to exercise, trying a new workout routine. And you could find something that's actually a breakthrough for you. Say you just couldn't find an exercise that you enjoyed. This can be when you do, and it might be a little bit different. It might be something new, like is it high rocks everyone is doing now? I'm not sure it's called high rocks. I think it's called high rocks, but doing something new, or some kind of sport that is a bit different, or just discovering that you actually really like a sport you didn't anticipate liking. It can just give you this sense of breakthrough in this area, or a new diet that works for you, or a new job that works for you. Especially around the full moon on the 5th of November, this area of life is very much illuminated. So your job is illuminated, job changes, your health is illuminated, and this with Uranus going retrograde 2 days later can illuminate what finally needs to change in these areas. And other people might not get it, Sagittarius. They might not understand what you're at, they might not understand what you're doing, but you're looking to bring in changes that work for you. And you're feeling very much like it's now or never as well. Mercury goes retrograde November 9th in your Sagittarius house, which is your house of self, and will be retrograde until the 29th of November. So Mercury retrograde in your first house, so close to Mars, could have you rethinking recent action that you've taken on a personal goal, or perhaps changes to your aesthetic. I will say, Sagittarius, not really the month to make any permanent changes aesthetically with Mercury retrograde in your sign. You'll notice in December it's a little bit better because Venus will be going through your sign from November 30th. So hold off on any changes. Just allow yourself to rethink your image or your aesthetic or your style and save the receipt on anything that you buy. With Mercury retrograde in your sign, you can also find that it's harder to find the right words. You can stumble on your words, you can put your foot in your mouth, but you might just generally be reflecting, Sagittarius, on how you communicate and what your sense of self means to you, how up to date you feel in your own life with your style, rethinking your image, rethinking your approach to life. Even, you could be feeling very philosophical this month. Mercury's going to retrograde then back into your 12th house on the 18th of November, and this is very internal. So Mercury retrograde does turn the energy inward. You could very much be reflecting on 12th house themes. So reflecting endings, rethinking endings even. Maybe something you let go of, you're thinking, was that the right thing to do? You could be rethinking your relationship to alone time, to solitude, to healing. You could be rethinking about the past. You could be thinking about your subconscious, maybe because your dreams are revealing really strange things to you. And what I really like about the Mercury retrograde and Scorpio portion of the retrograde, though, is that Mercury is going to reignite the grand water trine. And so you could find that any old ideas that you have or insights that come up about the past can be very healing for you. Jupiter is going to go retrograde in your Cancerian house, Sagittarius, which is your 8th house. And over the next 4 months, this is turning Jupiter's energy inward. So you're seeking greater wisdom from within, and Jupiter is your ruling planet. So when your ruling planet goes through the 8th house, you're changing, you're evolving, you're transforming. And with the energy going inward for the next 4 months, a lot of this change is internal. And you could be doing some very deep reflection on shadow work, on the tough stuff, getting a lot of wisdom maybe from a mentor. When it comes to shadow work, you could be more interested in the occult, studying astrology, or you could be more interested in psychology as well. Sort of re-examining, I think, your motivations in life, Sagittarius. But this can also be where you are perhaps wanting to study about finances, wanting to study about how to make your money work for you with the 8th house. And you could also be rethinking mortgages or loans and those types of matters. With the 8th house, you could be re-examining your beliefs about these different types of things with Jupiter. So whether you believe in astrology or not, you probably do if you're here. But whether you believe in certain healing practices or re-examining your beliefs about the occult could very much be coming up for you, Sagittarius. But also re-examining your beliefs about money and about intimacy too, connections with other people. There's a new moon in your 12th house on the 20th of November. With the sun in your 12th house until the 21st, a lot of this energy, Sagittarius, is behind the scenes for you. And this new moon for you is also about a new chapter beginning behind the scenes. So it's a very private sector, and it is going to be a new moon that is conjunct Mercury retrograde. So you could have this reset when it comes to your subconscious. And that might be because you're just noticing more signs and symbols, your dreams are more vivid. You might be visiting psychics, or you might be working through something with a therapist, and it's resetting the way that you think about these themes. But it can also be that you are deciding that you want to work on something privately. There's something new happening in your life and you want to keep it to yourself. You want to keep it on the down low for now. Your season comes into force on the 21st, and you will see over the next 30 days that your focus is on you. developing your sense of self-confidence, focusing on yourself, staying in your lane, being the main character, and expressing yourself more. This is quite an extroverted season in the first house. So being more present, being out there, allowing yourself to be seen, allowing yourself to move about the world as you are, show up as you are, and this is going to increase your sense of self-confidence. Saturn is stationing direct on the 27th in your Pisces 4th house. So Saturn is going to leave this area for the next 29 years in February of 2026. And this is the final stint of this Saturn in Pisces cycle. So this is shifting your internal review of the work and responsibilities that you've been doing and taking on in your home, in your family, for a family member, maybe an aging family member, maybe for an infant child, maybe for buying a house, renovating a house, or working on a house. This is when you see the progress, you see the job well done, you see the reward for the hard work that you've been doing. And you may find that with Saturn in the 4th house, you're still taking this area very seriously and you're really maturing in this area. But you can notice the why behind it all. You can notice what you were doing it for. You can see why you were doing it come to the fore with Saturn on the 27th going direct. Now Mercury is going to go direct in Scorpio, your 12th house, on the 29th, and on the same day Venus opposes Uranus in Taurus. Venus in Scorpio opposes Uranus in Taurus. So this could be kind of a chaotic day, and there may be some unexpected moves from other people, maybe professionally for you, maybe people that you didn't expect to make a move against you. Sagittarius, there could very much be this month some secrets that get revealed, some motivations that get revealed with other people, and you might not like all of it. But the good news about this one is that Mercury direct means that you get some mental clarity on what all of this means, and you get clarity on what you need to heal or what you need to let go of or what you need to release. And the miscommunications will start to dissipate going forward. So your suspicions of others could be confirmed to be valid, or they could be confirmed to be untrue this month, with all the 12th house activity and the retrograde activity as well. Venus is going through your 12th house for most of the month, and this means that you could be enjoying spending a lot of time alone. Sagittarius, cozy nights in, healing, reflecting. Venus going through the 12th house can be where you want to keep your connections private, you want to keep your relationship private, you want to connect with people privately in secret for whatever reason. You may just be more focused on protecting your peace. When Venus goes into your sign on the 30th, this can bring you a lot of positive attention. You can find that you get more compliments, people want to see you, it's more social, you've more love opportunities, you have more opportunities for connection, for socializing. And sometimes with Venus going through your sign, people want to spoil you, people want to look after you and take care of you as well. That is what I have for you, Sagittarius. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Capricorn, welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Capricorn, this month Mars, the planet of action, is moving into Sagittarius. Now Mars energizes the theme of adventure in Sagittarius, and for you it is exploring your 12th house, which means that you'll be seeking greater adventure and wisdom when it comes to healing, when it comes to your spiritual side, when it comes to initiating endings or initiating closure. The 12th house is also about sleep, and when Mars goes through this sector, you might notice that you need more sleep, you might notice that you need more rest, but you could also notice that your dream life is particularly active. And I think Capricorn, for a lot of you, you could be more interested in the spiritual side of life, noticing more signs and omens, and perhaps wanting to pursue something when it comes to healing, or when it comes to your spiritual side, or learning more about it, seeking more wisdom. Sagittarius is a sign that loves wisdom. But you can notice increased conflict in the 12th house. And conflict in the 12th house is rather sneaky. This is where you could notice that people maybe react or act in ways that you didn't expect. This is the revealer of hidden enemies. So you could notice that a hidden enemy is revealed But sometimes, truthfully, Capricorn, the hidden enemy in the 12th house is actually within. It's where we self-sabotage, or it's where we get in our own way. So you could be with Mars working through something subconsciously and really figuring out how your actions are actually hurting you. Now, Mars opposes Uranus in Gemini on the 4th of November. Watch that day for some quarrels, some restlessness, or perhaps some opposition. This transit notoriously brings tension and anger. It can bring an unexpected tug of war between you and someone else. Now, it's activating your health axis, so you might feel conflicted suddenly about something health wise. There could be unexpected tension at work, and there could be some tug of war between you getting rest and alone time and what you have to do on a day-to-day basis, maybe shifting. And you're really feeling frustrated about this. Now, speaking of Uranus, Uranus is going to move back into Taurus via retrograde, and it's going to hover over 29 degrees of Taurus for the rest of the month. Now, Uranus will be in Taurus until April 2026, so this is the final run of Uranus in Taurus in our lifetimes. And Uranus is a planet, it brings revolution and it brings sudden change. So look to your 5th house, which is the house of romance, love affairs. It's the house of what you do for fun, what brings you joy. And it's also the house of your children. There could be some sudden changes or revelations in this house, or there could be some disruptions or unexpected events within these areas of your life, Capricorn. But you know, Uranus is retrograde. So these revolutions, these desires for change, they could well be happening internally. Maybe there is this internal review of what makes you happy and whether you care or not, if that makes sense to other people. And perhaps you're looking inward at what no longer feels right in terms of what makes you happy, or what no longer feels right for you in terms of who you're dating. And you could be considering a bit of liberation. You know, maybe you're the type of person that always dated somebody in a suit, and now you're gravitating more towards someone who looks like Youngblood, for example, the artist. You could just find that these things are shifting. Your romantic attraction is shifting, the types of people you date are shifting, or you could be going through this creative inner breakthrough of what you want to create. You could have some really genius ideas actually as well, Capricorn, if you're in the creative field, or wrapping up a creative project that is really quite unique for you. And your Taurus house is also hosting this beautiful full moon on the 5th of November, which is illuminating your love life. It's illuminating your romantic life. With its dispositor being a domicile Venus in Libra, maybe you find love at work. Or maybe you're doing something fun at work. Maybe there's a party that you're attending. Maybe you are showcasing something creative, a passion of yours that you've been working on, can come to the fore under this full moon. Or matters with children, especially if you are a father, come to the fore around the time of this full moon. With Uranus retrograding back into Taurus 2 days later, I think this full moon is helping to illuminate what has been stuck and needs to change, and what needs to be adapted. And as I said before, maybe not everybody immediately understands it with Uranus. Uranus tends to go against the immediate status quo. Now, Mercury is going retrograde on the 9th of November in your 12th house. And Mercury will be retrograde until the 29th of November. So Mercury retrograde in the 12th, so close to Mars. You could be rethinking recent action or lack of action in the 12th house. And you might be reflecting on your spiritual journey as well. And you might be wanting to pick up a book that you used to read spiritually. You know, maybe it's the Four Agreements, maybe it is The Alchemist, picking up something spiritually, or an old podcast or YouTube channel, something that really helps you connect to the divine that you used to do, or you used to read, or you used to listen to. As you can see with Mercury retrograde, my words are starting to just blend in with each other. Something that you used to use as a source of information, particularly when it comes to spiritual healing, but also when it comes to mental health. Maybe a mental health practice that you used to have. In fact, watch Capricorn for when you get irritated or when you get angsty this month. It may simply be because you need more rest. And this Mercury retrograde may make you realize that maybe when you need a nap, you get cranky, you know, relatable. So Mercury is going to retrograde back into Scorpio, your 11th house, on the 18th of November. And this is a house on friendship. So you might be reflecting on your friendships, might be reflecting on your social connections, or even causes that are near and dear to your heart. What I like about this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is that it is part of a grand water trine. Now, how could this go? You could reconnect with old friends. You could get together with your friends if you haven't seen them for a while, reconnect and maybe come up with some ideas or bring back these ideas that you had. Maybe you had plans that you haven't formulated yet, and Mercury retrograde brings those back into the conversation. Or you're just reconnecting with your friends and having a positive time, or you're rethinking what your dreams and your vision is. Maybe you're going back to your vision board of the year and thinking, okay, well, this didn't happen. How can I change that for next year? Reflecting on your hopes and dreams with Mercury retrograde in your Scorpio house. And as well, you might learn a secret about a friend, or a friend might share a secret with you, or you may share a secret with a friend under this Mercury retrograde, as Scorpio does tend to bring about a little bit of secrecy. Now, Jupiter is going retrograde in your 7th house of relationships. And over the next 4 months, this is going to turn Jupiter's energy inward. So you're seeking greater wisdom from within. And a lot of the growth is going to happen on the inside with Jupiter retrograde. If you think back to June and what has transpired since then, where have your partnerships experienced growth? What has been going on when it comes to your relationships, romantic, business, close partnerships, just how you connect with other people generally? And you're reflecting on the growth here and how things have changed. Maybe there's been opportunities, maybe you've fallen in love, made a new partnership, deepened your relationship, maybe you've gone your separate ways with someone and you're thinking about what is next. With the energy being turned inward, Jupiter here is asking you, Capricorn, to re-examine your beliefs about this area, what you believe about partnership, what you believe about connection. And you can also find with Jupiter retrograde that you find internal abundance in this area. Maybe you start to feel very at peace with what you want from a relationship, or very at peace with the way that your relationship is. Now, Jupiter can actually also bring gains from the past. So if you're single, you could reconnect with someone from your past with Jupiter retrograde, or you could just finally get the lesson that you've needed to learn about relationships from your past. There's a new moon in Scorpio in your 11th house on the 20th of November. A new moon is when the moon joins the sun, and the sun will be in Scorpio until the 21st of November. So this is highlighting your friendships, and there could be a lot of social opportunities this month. This new moon can bring a reset or even a resurrection or renewal in an existing friendship or a past friendship. Maybe you hear from friends from the past that you lost touch with, or there was a falling out and it resurrects, or maybe you finally make peace with something, with a friendship, or you connect with a friendship, and if it is someone new, Capricorn, honestly, it's more like that you have a past with them, but you could have known them in a past life. You could go back to a group, you could reconnect with a team, or you could notice some sort of change within a team, some sort of resurrection within a team. Maybe an old project you were working on together, or something that you used to do as part of a group comes back around. This new moon can also reset simply how you think about friendship and how you think about social connections and how involved you are in networking or socializing. Sagittarius season comes into force on the 21st and brings your 12th house into focus even more so for the next 30 days. And where the sun goes, especially because Mars is there, it brings a surge of activity, but it is happening in a very sleepy zone for you, Capricorn. So I think for a lot of you, get as much rest as you can, recalibrate, recuperate, and focus on having the confidence to stay in, to say no, to embrace FOMO if you need to rest. But you may be more focused on spiritual matters as well, with the sun going through your 12th house, and also just kind of clearing out, getting rid of anything that no longer resonates, or letting go of what needs to be released. Saturn is going to station direct on the 27th in your 3rd house, your Pisces house, and Saturn will leave this area for 29 years in February. So this is the final, this is really the final hurrah of Saturn and Pisces for nearly 30 years. And this is shifting your 3rd house internal review. So if you have been rethinking or redoing even with Saturn. If you've been looking at your relationship to your siblings, if you've been looking at studying, if you've been looking at learning, and you've maybe been doing some internal work when it comes to these relationships or these practices or your mindset even, you might have taken your mindset more seriously. It's easier to think on a more serious level with Saturn going through the third. But if you have been rethinking your responsibilities to your relationship to your sibling, your relationship to your cousins, your neighbors, your community, or you have been doing this internal review, the final stint of Saturn in Pisces brings you the reward. So you notice that you have a stronger relationship with your sibling because you put in place some boundaries, or you committed to this project with them. Or it can be that you have been studying and you feel like it's taking so much effort, and Saturn goes direct and you think, okay, I feel like I can commit to this fully now. Whatever the case may be, the hard work that you're putting in, Capricorn, to learning, to understanding information, to communicating, all of that hard work and responsibility is going to start to show some reward with Saturn going direct. Mercury is also going direct on the 29th, and on the same day, Venus in Scorpio opposes Uranus in Taurus. Mercury direct and that opposition, that could be kind of a chaotic day on the 29th, especially with relationships. There can be unexpected moves from other people and still potential for miscommunication. But with Mercury going direct, the good news is that you will start to get some mental clarity, Capricorn, especially when it comes to your vision for the future, if you've been rethinking it or just going back to the drawing board. And misunderstandings with friendships begin to dissipate, or teams begin to dissipate as well. Venus is in your friendship sector for most of the month, which is really beautiful for your relationships, to your friendships, to your teams, to your groups. Even with the retrograde Mercury, you can find that you are having positive social experiences with friends. There can be opportunities to network, to mingle, to connect with other people, and have generally more positive social encounters. Venus then moves into your sleepy zone, the 12th house and the 30th, which is where you could find yourself a little bit more on the introverted side. With Uranus and Neptune both hanging out at 29 degrees of Taurus and Pisces and in a harmonious sextile this month, there's a lot of opportunity to integrate the energies of Uranus in your 5th house, revolutionizing how you love or what makes you happy, and Neptune in your 3rd house, trying to dream in a new reality to your life. And these are harmonizing this month, Capricorn. So you could really find that your connection to maybe siblings or people local to you is helping you heal when it comes to what makes you happy. You might be feeling more artistic, more inspired, more creative this month as well. That's what I have for you, Capricorn, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye. Hi Aquarius, welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Aquarius, this month Mars, the planet of action, is moving into Sagittarius. Now Mars energizes the theme of adventure in Sagittarius, and for you, it is energizing your 11th house, which means you could be seeking greater adventure and wisdom when it comes to friendship, when it comes to teams and groups. This is an area of life where you're seeking action. There could be increased activity. You might be more driven to pursue these things, so to hang out with your friends, to mingle, to network, to connect with groups of people, to be an active part of a group of people, maybe to travel with friends. But you can also see some increased conflict potential in this area. Mars and Uranus oppose on the 4th of November, and this is a transit known to bring quarrels, to bring restlessness, tension, anger, and unexpected tugs of war, Aquarius. And this could be for you a tug of war between socializing with your friends and being with your children. Or it could be a tug of war between you and another person of what would be the ideal action in this scenario. There can be some tension between maybe needing to socialize, be part of a group, go to a team effort, and perhaps your children or a romantic partner is wanting you to do something different. Look out for that day for unexpected tension. Now, speaking of Uranus, Aquarius, Uranus will move back into Taurus via retrograde, and it's going to hover over that 29 degrees for the rest of the month. Uranus will be in Taurus until April 2026, so this is very much the final run of Uranus in Taurus in our lifetimes. Now, Uranus brings revolution and sudden change. Now, to you, this is your fourth house of home and family. And this could be experiencing some disruptions. It's very likely for many Aquarius risings that you have moved, and Aquarius suns actually, that you have moved, and maybe you've moved unexpectedly or you've moved somewhere unexpected. Since 2018, there can be disruptions and unexpected events in your family. But because Uranus is retrograde Aquarius, I think for you, a lot of these revolutions and desires for change, they could very much be happening internally. So maybe you're looking inward at what no longer feels right or aligned when it comes to your living situation, when it comes to how you're engaging with your family, when it comes to how you style your space, when it comes to how much time you spend in the home, where you're living, that type of thing. You might have an inner breakthrough and you might think, actually, do you know what? I think I've outgrown this space. Or actually, do you know what? I think I want to do this with the home. You know, maybe with Uranus and Taurus, some of you are wanting to grow all your own food and you're making a space for that in your garden, or whatever the case may be. You're wanting to do something differently with your home and living situation, or you're wanting to move and you're having these inner realizations and breakthroughs. Your your Taurus house, rather, also hosts a full moon on November 5th. And this area of life is illuminated for you. So think your home, your living situation, your family. You might be spending time with family at this time. You might be moving. You might be redecorating, renovating. And you can also feel some intense feelings just about your private life. You can be feeling a bit more vulnerable, a bit more sensitive. But this full moon is exalted in Taurus, and the dispositor is a domicile Venus in Libra in your ninth house. I could see a lot of you contemplating getting a property abroad or moving abroad, or there could be something positive happening legally with a house with Venus in the ninth house. But this full moon could bring an opportunity for harmony and recalibration with your home and with family. But with Uranus retrograding back into Taurus 2 days after the full moon, it's very much illuminating Aquarius what needs to change and what finally needs to change. You know, Uranus at that final degree of Taurus, integrating the inner understanding that you now have about what home and family means for you and how it works for you, what you want out of your living situation. And other people might not necessarily understand it. You know, you might have an unconventional living situation or setup going on as well, or an unconventional approach to home and family. Now, Mercury goes retrograde on the 9th of November in your 11th house of Sagittarius and will be retrograde until the 29th of November. So Mercury retrograde in this house so close to Mars, you might be rethinking action that you've taken with a group of people, with a friendship, with networking, or with a charitable endeavor, and reflecting on how this is working for you. It's a great time also to catch up with friends and reconnect with friendships and groups of people. Mercury retrogrades back into Scorpio, your 10th house, on the 18th of November, which can bring some reflection for you on career, what you want to do career-wise, where you want to be working, what jobs you want to do, how you want to show up in your career. And what I really like about this for you, Aquarius, is that Mercury is going to be part of grand water trines while retrograde in Scorpio. So that kind of looks like you had an idea before with career or your public image or your professional life, and now you're getting it back into your line of sight. You're thinking it over. You might renew some old plans or resurrect some old ideas when it comes to your career. Jupiter goes retrograde in your 6th house, which is your Cancer house, and over the next 4 months, this is turning Jupiter's energy inward. So for you, Aquarius, you're seeking greater wisdom from within and experiencing growth on the inside when it comes to your health. Jupiter going through the 6th house can be a wonderful time to participate in sports, to be more active in the gym, to work on your wellness routines. You can get a lot of benefits from it, especially with Jupiter being exalted. You can find that you're doing, if you're sporty, you can be doing better in sport, or you can be more motivated to take better care of your health and see the benefits of it. It can be an area of life that you very much enjoy. It can also be that there's work expansion, you know, getting a great job, getting a great role within your job, doing things that you enjoy on a day-to-day basis, enjoying your routines more. But if that's not going the way that I just said, if you don't feel like you're getting that benefit just yet, With Jupiter retrograde going inward, you can kind of re-examine your beliefs about these things and realign your beliefs so that Jupiter can bless you when Jupiter goes direct in 4 months' time. You can also find greater inner abundance in this area, and you can also experience some gains from the past. So, positive gains from people you used to work with or used to work for you, positive gains from actions you've taken in the past when it comes to your health as well, or being recognized for something work-wise that you did in the past. There's a new moon in your career sector on the 20th of November. And I like this one for you, Aquarius, because it's bringing this reset, but possibly also, well, a renewal as well, but possibly also a resurrection in your career. You might be going back to an old job, or you might be considering returning to a job or considering returning to a business or doing something you used to do within a business. The Mercury retrograde, though, it doesn't have to be something from the past. What it can actually be is that you reset how you think about this area. What you think you want to do work wise or career wise going forward over the next 6 months. A lot of you could have a new job coming up, a lot of you could have a new role within your business. Or a lot of you could be just showing up publicly quite differently. Maybe a name change, maybe a title change for work that you have done in the past, Aquarius. Sagittarius season comes into force on the 21st, and it brings your 11th house into focus for the next month. And this is where things get really very social over the next 30 days. A busy social calendar, spending time with friends, networking, going to events, being socially present, and connecting with people that you consider your soul family, maybe even traveling with these people with Sagittarius energy. Saturn stations direct on the 27th in your second house of Pisces. Now, Saturn is going to leave this area for nearly 30 years in February. And this is going to shift your internal review of your money and your spending, and it's going to bring forth progress. So, this is where you can see that if you've been saving for something, if you have been a little bit more financially frugal, this is where you can really see the benefit of it and the investment. Where you have been learning about where you've been reprioritizing, Aquarius, this is where you can see the benefit and the payout for that as well. Essentially, between now and February, you see the reward of this Saturn and Pisces cycle. So you see the benefit of being more frugal or saving money or spending less money or reprioritizing what you spend your money on, or also just reconfiguring what your values are. This is where you can see the benefit of that going forward. Things will improve financially going forward. Mercury goes direct in Scorpio in your 10th house on the 29th. This is going to bring clarity when it comes to your career. Conversations that actually go somewhere about your career, about what it is that you want to achieve, about your goals. There is a Venus-Uranus opposition that day, though, Aquarius. And this is where you could see a little bit of push and pull between family members and career changes, or vice versa. So your family, your private life, and your career, your public life may find themselves in opposition on that day, and people could act or react in ways that you just don't really expect. Venus will be going through your 10th house for most of the month until the 30th, and this is going to bring positivity to your relationships within your career. So you might find, Aquarius, that you get on better with people that you work with. There's more social events through your job or through your career or through your workspace. And you might just simply be impressing the right people. You might be more visible publicly. You're getting more likes on your posts. You're getting more traction on your TikToks, whatever the case may be. You may be more in the public eye. And use this to your advantage. If you want attention for something professionally, this is the time that you very well may get it if you're at the forefront. And then Venus moves into your friendship sector from the 30th, which further improves your relationships to your friends. There can be, with Venus going through Sagittarius, some healing as well if the Mercury retrograde brought miscommunication with your friendships or miscommunication with teams and groups of people. With Uranus and Neptune both hanging out at 29 degrees of Taurus and Pisces this month, Aquarius, and in this harmonious sextile, there's opportunities for you to integrate the energies of these planets before they change signs. So Uranus is your modern ruling planet. If you're rethinking your living situation or your home situation, but you're also healing your relationship to your finances, this could be a time where those energies blend. So you feel like there's some kind of healing between how you spend your money on your home, or you feel like there's some sort of healing when it comes to family relationships and values within those family relationships. You can have some sort of an awakening about these areas. It will manifest for different, for everybody differently depending on your chart and your unique experience, but this can bring a very healing energy. And for you, Aquarius, it is focusing on changes when it comes to your home, your family, your living situation, but also your spending and also what is most important to you. That is what I have for you, Aquarius, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Pisces, welcome to your horoscope for November 2025. Pisces, this month Mars, the planet of action, moves into Sagittarius. Now, Mars energizes the theme of adventure in Sagittarius, and for you, it's activating your professional 10th house. This is your public image, this is your career, your vocation, your calling. And you may be seeking greater adventure in this area and also seeking more education and wisdom within this area. So you can find with Mars going through the 10th house that you seek greater action. You might notice there's more action going on in your career, more happening. You might have increased ambition and drive in pursuit of career goals, in pursuit of professional success or public recognition. But you can also notice some increased conflict in this area. Think bickering with your boss, for example. On the 4th of November, Mars opposes Uranus in Gemini. So this can bring some quarrels, it can bring some restlessness, and you could find some opposition between your public and private life, finding it hard to balance your home life and your career life. There can be some tension, anger, and unexpected tugs of war between perhaps your private ambitions and your public ambitions. Maybe you're finding that you would like to spend more time with your family, but you have so much going on at work, or vice versa. And you're finding that these areas are a source of tension, Pisces. Speaking of Uranus, Uranus is moving back into Taurus via retrograde on November 7th. And this is going to hover over that 29 degrees, the anaretic degree of Taurus, for the rest of the month. Uranus is going to be in Taurus until April 2026. So this is the final run of Uranus in Taurus in our lifetimes. Uranus is bringing revolution and sudden change, so your third house could be experiencing some disruptions and unexpected events. So that could be unexpected travel plans, local travel plans with the third house, changes in travel arrangements. This could be changes, unexpected developments with siblings, with neighbors. This could be unexpected developments with your car. But these revolutions and desires for change may well be happening internally thanks to the retrograde. So having some clarity when it comes to third house themes, such as how you get around, your car, if you walk, whatever the case may be, your commute. But this can also be rethinking your mindset, Pisces. You could have these internal breakthroughs when it comes to your mindset, what you think and how you communicate. Maybe you're looking inward at what no longer feels right communication wise, and you're wanting to liberate yourself from something mentally. So the way that you think, or a thought pattern that you've had for a long time, just suddenly you get an inner breakthrough in this area, or your sibling has a breakthrough, or you've a breakthrough with a neighbor. And this could be something that is occurring with Uranus going through Taurus for the final time in our lifetime. The retrograde does bring the energy inward though. So I really think for a lot of you, you could be liberating yourself from a way of thinking. Your Taurus house is also in the spotlight on November 5th, thanks to the full moon that is illuminating themes of mindset, communication, learning perhaps. You could be learning something, reading a book, or listening to a podcast that really changes the way that you think. Or you could be rethinking how you act how you show up on social media, if you have a social media business in particular, but how you show up on the internet, or your relationship to the internet, or your relationship to gadgets, communication, apps, that type of thing. These themes can all come to the fore. There could be something happening with a sibling, happening in your neighborhood, spending time with your neighbors, and you may feel some intense feelings about this. But I do like that this full moon is exalted in Taurus, and the dispositor is a domicile Venus in Libra, which is for you, Pisces, in your 8th house. So it can bring positive transformations for you locally or mentally with the 3rd house. And it can bring an opportunity for harmony and recalibration. But with Uranus retrograding back into Taurus 2 days later, I really think that you're getting this eureka moment of what needs to change for you in your own head. Or a eureka moment when it comes to your car, a sibling, a neighbor, a local event, a workshop that you're taking, studying, what you're learning. These areas of life can experience breakthroughs. And you may have a change of mind that other people don't necessarily understand, Pisces. Now, Mercury is going retrograde on the 9th of November in your Sagittarius house as your career zone, and it's going to be retrograde there until the 29th. Mercury retrograde in the 10th house, so close to Mars, could have you rethinking recent action or perhaps even heated communication in your career zone. So something you said career-wise you might be reflecting on. You might be going over an old idea or an old plan or making changes in what you have to do work-wise or what you need to do work-wise. And it can be easier to say the wrong thing in your career, Pisces, or send the email to the wrong recipient. We've all done it. And you might also be reflecting on the connection between your career and your education, Pisces. So maybe you want to get some sort of certification through your career, or you're looking to maybe go back to education in order to enhance your career. Mercury is going to retrograde back into the sign of Scorpio on the 18th of November, and this is your 9th house. So this is where you're reflecting on travel plans or travel arrangements or just traveling in general. Maybe you want to go back to somewhere you've been before. Maybe you want to go back to school, go back to university. What I really like about this Mercury retrograde when it's in Scorpio, Pisces, is that it's going to resurrect some old ideas and give them new life, or bring back some old plans and give them new life. I do think a lot of you might decide that you want to go back somewhere you've been before, travel back to somewhere that you've been before, and maybe have a better time than you did last time. But just be mindful that this Mercury retrograde can bring changes in plans when it comes to traveling or needing to rearrange a plan or needing to rearrange a trip or unexpected expenses when it comes to a trip. So just be mindful of that. Jupiter is going retrograde in Cancer, your 5th house. And over the next 4 months, this is going to turn Jupiter's energy inward. Now, Jupiter is your ruling planet. So you're seeking greater wisdom from within, Pisces, on what makes you happy. And a lot of that growth is going to happen on the inside. So what growth and wisdom have you been gaining in your Cancerian 5th house? What have you learned about love? What have you learned about dating? What have you learned about creativity? What makes you happy? What have you learned about your children? Jupiter going through the 5th is often a pregnancy transit. So for some of you, you're pregnant, and that is bringing a bit of a rethink in terms of your relationship to your body and how you look after your body. For some of you, you are picking up old hobbies that made you happy, or you're rethinking what makes you happy generally, Pisces, because that can shift and change through life. And this is a great time to reflect on the growth and opportunities that you have had, maybe romantically, but if you haven't had these opportunities or they haven't been what you hoped, this is the part of the Jupiter cycle where you turn that energy inward and you re-examine your beliefs about love, about dating, about romance, about creativity, about parenting, about what makes you happy. So you reflect and you re-examine your beliefs, and you might find more happiness internally on the inside than on the outside. You might realize that happiness is an inside job for you, Pisces, over the next 4 months. But Jupiter retrograde can also bring gains from the past. This could be where someone comes back from the past romantically. This could be where you bring back something that used to make you happy and you wonder why you ever let it go. This can be when things that your children did in the past come back and bear fruit. So maybe they were rehearsing for a play that they wanted to be in for the nativity, and they get the leading role, and this is great. It can be something comes back from the past, gains come back from the past in some way, Pisces, that make you happy. So something from the past could very much be what makes you happy over the next 4 months. Maybe you haven't met anyone new romantically because the person for you is already in your phone book, or perhaps you haven't been out having as much fun because you realize that your priorities have actually been more so on working on a creative project. You just rethink what makes you happy, Pisces, and rethink your beliefs about what you want in this area. There's a new moon in Scorpio in your ninth house on the 20th of November, and this is bringing a reset for you, Pisces, when it comes to travel. Maybe you, as I say, are planning a trip back to somewhere you've been before, somewhere that you have visited previously. Maybe for some of you, you're thinking, okay, I want to go back and get this degree. The ninth house is also education, or you're wanting to take this learning opportunity. Or maybe some of you reconnect with a teacher or a mentor in your life, or you're simply resetting how you think about travel, about education, and what role these themes play in your life, Pisces. And maybe you want them to take more of a front seat. Maybe you're realizing, do you know what? Jupiter in the fifth house, I want to travel more. Or maybe you're thinking, do you know what? I want to get this education because I think this is going to help me professionally. Whatever the case may be, Pisces, this is an opportunity for a reset in that area. And you could also reset your beliefs. Maybe something that you read or something that you hear changes your perspective in a very important way. Sagittarius season comes into force on the 21st, and this is bringing your professional house into focus for the next month. So you can see a surge of activity happening in this professional space for you over the next 30 days, Pisces. And you may find that you're looking to express yourself more and gain a greater sense of self-confidence in your career, in your professional life, or just showing up publicly, being seen. You may notice that there's more spotlight on you, or you may notice that you have more opportunities to be seen publicly or to bring your work forward. And this might be a time when you're looking for a job or you're looking to enhance your career. You're going to like this. Saturn stations direct on the 27th in your sign, in your Pisces first house. Now, Saturn is leaving this area for the next 29 years in February, and I'm sure you're happy about that. But this is shifting your internal review of your personal responsibilities, taking yourself more seriously, perhaps working on yourself, investing time and effort on yourself, limiting yourself for greater gain in the long run in some way, Pisces. This is bringing forth that progress. So between now and February, you're going to see the reward of the hard work and responsibility that you have been putting in over the last 3.5 years. So you might see the payoff when it comes to, working on your physical body, building muscle, becoming more flexible. You may have been working on your skin care. You may have been working on your physical body. And this is when you see the results. This is where you see the final reward, or something that you have just been putting so much effort into, Pisces, and you feel like you've not seen the results yet. This is where you see the job well done for your hard work. You see the reward, you see the validation. Mercury is going to go direct in your Scorpio ninth house on the 29th. So this is going to bring clarity on travel plans, travel arrangements. These things are going to be a lot smoother going forward. It's also going to bring some sort of important clarity when it comes to higher education or beliefs. But on the same day, Venus in your ninth house is opposing Uranus in your third at 29 degrees. So there's some sort of unexpected move when it comes to your relationships to teachers or mentors or siblings or neighbors. There could be some sort of unexpected development in your relationship to those people. And it could be quite a chaotic day. And it might be something that finally needs to be understood between you and another person, maybe to do with belief systems, Pisces. Venus is going to be in Scorpio for most of the month until that day, and this brings positivity to your relationships with people from different countries, people from different backgrounds, different belief systems to yours. You could be getting on very well with these people. You could be getting on well with people that you are in higher education with, getting on better with teachers and mentors. You might even find love with someone from a different country or a different jurisdiction. You can expect social encounters with these people to be more pleasant. And Venus then moves into your 10th house from the 30th, which is more of a December storyline, but Venus going into your 10th house from the 30th, this is going to bring a lot of positive social connection when it comes to your career and your job. This could bring love and work, but it can just bring more positive connections to people that you work with, getting on better with your boss, especially after that retrograde, getting on better with people professionally. And you might be finding that perhaps for some Pisces risings, there's opportunities to travel with your job or connect with people in different countries work-wise. That's very positive for you. Uranus and Neptune are both hanging out at 29 degrees of Taurus and Pisces, and they're in this harmonious sextile. They actually connect exactly on the 20th of November, but you'll be feeling this for most of the month. You can expect that this harmonious sextile helps you, Pisces, integrate the energies between you and what you know. I think a lot of you could be re-examining your mindset this month and your beliefs, and I think there could be a very healing development with how you think, particularly how you think about yourself, how you express yourself, how you communicate is going to be up for review this month, Pisces, and you're really looking at, okay, I need to change this and I need to change this now. And it feels supportive. It feels like you get the information that you need. It feels as though others want to help you see things differently. You could be finding that there's healing between you and a sibling, healing between you and a neighbor, healing between you and your, even for some of you, conquering a fear of flying or traveling or something like that. But it feels for most Pisces risings that you're figuring out how to blend the energies between how you are and how you think, and how you communicate for yourself and how you speak up for yourself, or how you communicate, maybe even from a body language perspective. It feels as though there's a lot of healing between you and your mind, Pisces. That is what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon.